What's going on? It's time for another episode of Too Hard for the Radio and the Scuttlebutt Podcast, transmitting from the future-free state of Greater Idaho. I am the one-armed madman, and with me, again, your host of the Scuttlebutt Podcast, it's Hermes Auslander. Hermes, pleasure as always.
Always, man. I invite everybody to pull up their chair, pour their glass, light whatever they're smoking on. It is another crossover episode. We've been doing a lot, and everybody seems to be enjoying them. I think one of our Patreon, Dr. Diablo, reached out and was like, I can't remember what. Let me pull up the message, but basically like, how'd you meet Nick, and what's all these conspiracy theories that are floating on the show, and all this, just fun. If he's a Patreon member of us, he fucking gets down. So he was
for sure.
He was kicking some shit, and I was just like, yeah, man, we go way back, and it's been a fun ride so far. So
absolutely,
yeah, welcome everybody.
I enjoy these a lot. It's been fun.
Likewise. I was looking forward to it today.
And yeah, me too. And pulling up the drink, I got another old fashioned. I had a guy reach out to me it was like a few days ago, and just like it's on this Podmatch site that we use to like book guests. Essentially, a guest will reach out to you, or you can reach out to them and say, hey, I think I'd be a good fit for your podcast. Well, he started off with like, hey, you're making an old fashioned wrong, take it from me, an old guy. And I was just like, you know what, fuck you. Fuck you. Like, you don't fucking tell a bartender how to make drinks. Like, you can, if you come into my bar and say, I want it without a cherry, which is what he was bitching about. It's like, dude, the cherry's a garnish. Like, it barely changes the taste unless you're like very sensitive to sugar. Like, you're not even going to notice that it's in there for the most part. Like, I can kind of notice it, but not to the point where like it doesn't change. But again, like, don't tell me how to do my job, you fucking dickhead. Oh, I'm an old guy, I should know. It's like, dude, I've made thousands of these drinks in my lifetime. I know how to do it. Like, just fuck off. And then he was trying to tell me that he knew how to get money out of politics. I'm like, oh, okay.
Can't wait to hear this one.
You're fucking full of yourself a little bit. So I hope he listens to this, because he's not coming on the podcast.
That's awesome. I was gonna say, like, until you gave me like the full context, I was gonna ask, like, was he like, that's one way to grab somebody's attention, is to just kind of like, what's it called, like negging, right? Like, to go out of the gate with something negative. But at the same time, like, it doesn't sound like he was kidding either. If he kept going and going, like, what the fuck, dude?
And then at one point he was like, if you're really or truly a libertarian, you will really get on board with what I'm doing with voting. And I'm like, actually, I don't believe in voting. So no, I think voting is stupid.
I've taken my final Pokemon form, and there's no voting.
Yeah, like, I don't believe in voting at all. So no, I don't think if you're reaching out to me to be on my podcast about this, you have zero chance at doing this. None.
Yeah.
Like, maybe if you're on Joe Rogan, maybe if you're on one of these Tucker or something like that, okay, this guy's got some muscle behind his ideas. But for the most part, like, if you're reaching out to be on a podcast that nobody listens to, you have zero chance at getting money out of politics, you fucking douchebag.
Maybe he knows something you don't. Maybe he's like your number one fan, number one listener.
Yeah.
And he knows that you're just the stepping stone. Like, everybody knows. It's sort of like that movie with like Good Luck Chuck. What was that guy's name? Where basically every ex that he has ends up going and marrying the next person they meet. Like, you're the precursor to JRE and to Tucker. Like, everybody who goes on yours automatically goes on theirs next.
I had a guy come on. Shit, I don't remember his name. It wouldn't take me long at all to look it up, because he was like my second interview on the show. So I can go on to YouTube and go to oldest and see what his name is. Chris something.
Stuckman.
No, it was. Where is he?
I watch a lot of movie review, like, YouTubes.
Yeah.
And I used to watch that guy Stuckman until he became like a fucking industry plant just to promote his own shit.
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? Get yours, man. But your content is no longer entertaining. And I was thinking about that the other day as it relates to podcasts. Is I will stop listening if you fucking sell out. You know what? I don't care how far back I go, how long I've been listening. The only one that has still gotten away from it, and gotten away with it with me, is fucking Rogan. Just because, it's like, all right, you have Snowden on, or you have fucking Trump on, or whatever. Like, it's like cultural moments and shit that I gotta make sure I'm staying up to date on. Obviously I'm not watching everything, but it's like, You're the only one who gets a pass for like, oh, it still
Yeah.
pisses me off. But anybody
Yeah.
else? Yeah, sorry,
So
no.
this guy, Chris Bledsoe is his name, and he came on my show. He was episode 20, so like one of the early
Mm,
episodes, one of my first interviews. I think he was my third interview, and he wrote a book called UFO of God. Um, and like
okay,
I
I'm
guess
listening.
he's had experiences with UFOs his whole life and abductions and shit like that. And he's got like an Instagram where he shows like weird phenomenon that happens around his house and anything. It was
Huh.
it was interesting. And he ended up being on Sean Ryan a couple like a year or so ago. So
Fuck.
like
Hell
they made
yeah.
a like somebody made a documentary about his book and it was like on Amazon or something like that. So like, you know,
Well, now, now I think the legend is coming true.
yeah,
Maybe you are in like a good luck chuck
yeah.
situation.
I had a
You're just
guy
launching all these
on
people.
I had a guy on a couple of months ago who had been on Rogan before. And after like doing the podcast, it was one of like the early Rogan episodes. And then
Mhm.
after doing the podcast, I was like, oh, that's why he hasn't been back on Rogan again.
You weren't a good guess, actually. I like it. I mean, yeah, there's enough cross pollination, I guess.
Yeah.
We'll all fruit something eventually, right?
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
just keep doing it for the fuck of it and for the
Yeah.
fun. Here we are.
I was on Sam Tripoli tinfoil hat a couple years ago. I've been on twice. Haven't been on since I started the podcast. He hasn't been returning my emails, so that's not great, you know.
Too many opinions out there.
Yeah, haven't got back on that one again. But like I think the first episode that I did, like I think the following episode was Roger Stone. It was like, whoa, that's kind of cool, you know,
Fuck.
like
Yeah.
sharing the same mic with Roger Stone.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I gotta get better. You brought up pod match earlier, and I've just been completely negating all of my logistics
Yeah,
responsibilities as far as the show goes. Because yeah, I just no other excuse than it's just I love doing this where we sit
yeah,
down and we
me too.
talk.
I like
All
doing
of the
this
other
better too.
stuff.
And I've got a bunch
Yeah,
of fucking episodes in the can that I haven't haven't published yet. I've probably got
yeah.
like 20 episodes that I still need to publish. So after I think I have another podcast tomorrow that I had scheduled before we started doing these. And
Mhm.
after that, I might even put the timeout thing on Podmatch for a while just because I enjoy
Yeah.
these better. Like I enjoy doing this with you or my other two co-hosts. Nolan and Dan, like I enjoy these better than just
Likewise.
doing like a different interview every week. And a lot of times, you know, especially when I was getting like my 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 co-host Dan was doing a lot of podcasts for a while. It was like every week or every other week. And now he's been kind of busy with his job and he hasn't been able to come on as much anymore. So I have to like, I still have to fill episodes. You know, I don't want
Hmm.
to take a break. Like one of the shittiest times in the podcast is I broke my shoulder and then right around that same time Dan was starting to get busy with work. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to take a break. And I took like
Hmm.
a month off of the podcast and like downloads fell off a cliff when I
Of
came back.
course.
And
Of
they're
course.
like starting to recover now, but it took like almost a year for them
Yeah.
to start recovering again, which was
Yeah.
kind of a
Well,
kick in
it's
the gut. You know, it was like, man, all I had to do was, and I think I might have even had episodes that I could have put up during that time. I just kind of needed a break though.
No, no. I mean, obviously, take care. Put your mask on first, kind of a thing. I always tell people, especially with any creative endeavor, because man, have I burnt myself out on projects before. But at the same time, like with podcasting, I know it's like that's just a rule of the game almost
Hmm.
where yeah, like consistency is
Yep.
king, and there's always those like confidence is key kind of a thing if you're dating, and yeah, consistency is key when it comes to fucking podcasting.
Yeah.
And it is, I've heard that so many times from people. It's like, oh, I'm just gonna take a break, and it's almost like the key word for, oh, I'm actually quitting, like podcasting is done, like the show's gonna die.
Yeah.
Like I've seen it so many times where maybe with the exception of one or two people where they actually took a break. And my situation where I'll go TADR deploy or something, so I'll have to like tell the listeners, hey, this is one of those times. And again, back to the logistics thing, it's like you got to get, I don't know, there's got to be a way to stay engaged. You got to be
Yeah.
on Twitter, you got to do all the things somehow to keep
Twitter's
that
hard.
engagement going.
Twitter's
It is,
hard.
it is,
You
it
know,
is.
I suck at Twitter. I'm not good at it.
I
I
am. I'm not going to claim that I am
You
either.
know, I remember Sam Tripoli had a great tweet that I brought up while I was on his show. at one point he tweeted like, "Hey guys, turns out I'm not shadow banned. I just suck."
Yeah,
And I was
exactly.
like, "That's me. I just suck at Twitter." You know, like
Oh,
I'm pretty
yeah.
good at like, promotion on Twitter's easy. You just drop a link to the show or put a clip up or something like that. Like that's fairly easy.
Exactly.
Doing clips is a pain in the ass for me because I have Apple products and
Mhm.
that Opus clip thing that I do does
Mhm.
not like
Mhm.
Apple products anymore for some reason. When I started using it, it
Oh.
worked great with my iPad, and now it's just a pain in the ass. So, anyways, um, I I'm not good at like getting my thoughts out into a tweet.
Into the
Like
small, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
good at getting my thoughts out on the podcast with somebody else. Like my co-host keeps recommending that I start YouTube channels. Like do this YouTube channel where you just cover wars for all day. And it's like, I don't know enough about war. And then like also being on like doing a solo podcast is really hard. I don't
Oh,
know if
yeah.
you've ever tried it before. I
Mhm.
at one point like I'm a big motocross fan and like there's a couple of guys that make like videos about motocross where they just cover the races and stuff and they
Mhm.
do it by themselves. And I tried doing that. It was like I have all the equipment, I have the time, like I know more about motocross than any of the stuff that we talk about on here aside from like science fiction. And so like this should be easy for me to do. And I
Mhm.
recorded a couple episodes and it was just not good.
Yeah.
And it wasn't fun, you know? Like
Mhm.
I this is fun to me. Like I enjoy talking with you. I enjoy talking with Dan and Nolan, and it's fun. Where that wasn't. It seemed more like work. And I was like, A, it's not good. Like I wasn't impressed with the video that I made. And then B, like I don't want to turn my like only hobby into a job, you know?
Mhm.
Like my only
100%.
like thing that I just do for the
Outlet,
love of the
yeah.
game, like my only outlet. Like I don't want to turn that into a job. So I just decided not to do it. And
Yeah.
Tim Dillon does not get enough credit for like how good his podcast is and how
Yeah.
great he is at like just ranting by himself. Like it is not easy. Like
Yeah.
doing these are pretty easy. You
Yeah.
don't even really have to like if you find somebody that you have a good flow with like we do, you don't even really have to have notes. Like it
Yeah.
just goes whatever direction it's going to go into.
Mhm.
Sometimes you can bring in notes that things that you want to talk about or that are in the zeitgeist, but like for the most part, you can just kind of go and things kind of fall into place where doing a solo show is totally just a completely different monster. It's like
Mhm.
not even
Mhm.
the same thing as
No.
doing a
Yeah, I totally
podcast
agree.
like this, and
Totally agree.
it takes like you have to know a lot of shit about a lot of shit. And like with
Mhm.
Tim, especially, like he's so funny that he's great at just like turning everything into a joke and being sarcastic. And like I'm not fun nearly as funny as Tim Dillon. Very few
That's a
people
tough
on
bar.
earth
Yeah.
are, like that's a tough ask.
Exactly.
Did you see his episode this week where he wore big fake tits?
Mm-mm, no. He's done that a couple times though. I haven't seen this week's though,
He
but that's a good.
in honor of Christy Gnome's husband, who's a cross dresser who likes to wear big H tits. He bought a
Yeah.
set of big fake tits on Amazon, and he's just like bouncing them around and talking about her tits, his tits.
Uh,
Christy Gnome was telling like people like, "Oh, I had no idea that my husband was into this. Please pray for us." And he's like, "People are getting destroyed in the Middle East, and I'm supposed to pray for your husband's big fake tits."
I did see a couple of those pictures similar
Yeah,
around the same time as the cash, email hack or whatever it
yeah,
was, social media hack. Yeah, I did see some, and again, it's just like one of those things that got lost in the sauce. I was like, who is? Oh yeah, they're like somebody's husband, I guess. And I was like,
yeah.
whatever. Moved on to the next thing because I do have. I was telling you well, happy belated Easter. I
Yeah,
hope you had a
absolutely.
good one.
You as well.
I was telling you on Easter that we had quite a few boat notes already. So there was there's shitters that are overflowing again naturally. There's all the things that usually aren't working, and I got into this conversation with we'll keep them again anonymous, so we'll keep it another U.S. Shush, Stevie. I hear my cat, of
Yeah, I
course,
do.
derail the conversation. Um, and we were
Ozzy's
going
down
back and
here
forth a little
fucking
bit.
his fuck toy right
His
now.
fuck toy.
Yeah. It's
I wish you.
he's got a stuffed elephant that he likes to lay into, so he's going
Hey, who
at it
doesn't
right
like a
now.
big trunk? Am I right? Average trunk, rather. But we were going back and forth on Twitter, and it was he was making she they were making a good point of like um all the cruise lines, right? It's like a headline breaking story, right? When the when a cruise liner, bathroom breaks or like there's a leak or something on it. Like it's it's the end of the world. These are giant ships, right? And you're telling me that consistently every single sailor that I've ever talked to, every experience in the Navy, it's like a given. It's required in order to sail in the United States Navy, where your shit's going to get soaked because something's going to flood one
Yeah.
of the nights that you're sleeping.
It's in the
The shit,
contract.
I didn't see it in the contract, but apparently it's there. Like, it's the unspoken agreement that we all sign. The shitters will be broken. They will either be stopped up or overflowing, poop water into your fucking berthing. And it's like, where is the disconnect where, even when it's an old ship, where it's like these Carnival cruises or something that have gone, millions of miles at this point, that it's like it's like a crazy rarity headline when one of them breaks and, somebody, they're stranded out at sea or
Yeah.
whatever. This is like a daily occurrence for the United States Navy. And it's like,
It's like
why?
the McDonald's ice
Fuck.
cream machine.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, what the fuck is wrong? Like, there's a lot of things that people can live with, and it's just like the bare minimum, guys. Come on, fix the shitters. Yeah,
Yeah.
I like the McDonald's. I should make a fucking meme or something about that and
Yeah.
send it back to him, because it's like, yeah, is the toilet stopped up
It's in the
again? Because I was
contract.
just like, oh, big fucking surprise there, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he was
Did you
just
know
he was
that
just bitching.
the ice cream company that makes that ice cream machine is like in a big lawsuit with McDonald's because they're like, there's no way our ice cream machine breaks that often.
No, I didn't. Well, I think we all sort of accepted
Yeah.
at
Oh,
one point or
dude, when
another, right?
when I was busy at my bar that I in San Francisco, the last bar that I worked at, we had an espresso machine and people
Mm.
would come in and I'm fucking busy, football's on, and some Euro couple would come to the bar and be like, "Oh, two, cappuccinos." I'd be like, "Sorry, it's broken."
Exactly. I think we all kind of accepted that was, especially when you see who's working at the McDonald's,
Yeah.
and you're like, okay, sure, it's broken. All
Yeah.
right. Especially when you get there at late at night too. It's like 10:30, 11. You're like, I just really have the munchies for I got that the other night, not actually coincidentally, a month or two ago. And yeah, it's when it's late at night and there's like these two high schoolers by themselves in the McDonald's. Yeah, okay, sure, your ice cream machine's broken. All right, I
Yeah.
get it. You just cleaned up and you're off in like 45. I get it, man. I've been there.
Yeah.
So can you blame him? But at the same time, I'm blaming Uncle Sam, because the amount of
Yeah,
freaking
absolutely. Fuck
amount of
him.
over the barrel that we're getting right now. Again, he was bitching. She were bitching back and forth to me, and I won't tell you exactly like where they're at, but it's like they're just doing circles. They're just like
Ah.
hanging out, waiting, doing circles, and he's like, and our shitter's fucking bro. We can't even eat and then shit. And I was like, so wait. Honest question. Are you guys just like over the side of the rails? He's like, everybody on the smoke deck is when we have to piss. I'll just tell you that much. And I was like, Jesus Christ.
What
This
a
is like, yeah, I mean, it's a nightmare, but it's also one of those where he and I got that camaraderie, which
Yeah,
is what I
for
want a
sure.
lot of these boat notes to attest to, is like, we're just, they always say a bitchin' sailor's a happy sailor. We're just coming back and forth of like, we can either laugh or we can cry. And we're just sitting here like shaking our heads like, yeah, this is a nightmare, but what are you gonna like? Just really, what are you gonna do? We're just gonna
Yeah.
shrug our shoulders and just fucking go with it, because
Yeah.
I guess we're pissing over the smoke deck today, guys. I guess that's what we're
Oh,
doing.
man.
Oh man, it was just crazy.
So I went on a cruise when I was 18. It was right after I graduated high school. It was like a family reunion, and I had just went to Cancun and like partied down. And so I wasn't
Mhm.
like super pumped on going on this like family cruise to Alaska. It was you took off in Vancouver, Washington, and then or Vancouver, Canada, excuse me, and then you sail up through the inner passage up into Alaska and stop at a couple ports, and then we went to Denali for like a week on a train,
Oh,
and dude,
Denali,
it
yeah.
was such an awesome trip. Like I had a
Oh yeah.
blast, and I'll tell you what, I got fucked up on the boat. Like after coming back from a week at Cancun, my tolerance was high. And I had a fake ID when I was in high school, and like my family knew that I had a fake ID. They didn't give a shit. This was in the early 2000s, so nobody fucking cared, right?
As it
And
should be.
so we
Yeah.
get on the ship, and I send my mom to like the galley or whatever it is where you go and talk to someone, and she's like, "Hey, you guys like have my son listed as being 18 on the manifest, and like he just went to the bar to get a drink, and they wouldn't serve him because they said he's 18. And look, like here's his ID." And back then they didn't have like scanners and shit
Yeah,
like
the little
that.
light
So
on
they're
it.
like, "Oh yeah, let's just fix that in the system."
He's definitely
Yep.
22 today.
So I was drinking the whole time, and dude, I got fucked up. Like one night I got really fucked up and like decided to start destroying things on the ship. So I was like just going nuts. I was
You were the problem child.
Yeah, dude, I had a bottle of like high proof whiskey or something like that that I got from the tax and duty free shop. And
Mm,
I was lighting golf balls on fire and just hitting them off the back of the ship as
I feel
far as
like
I
that's what
could.
it's for.
Yeah, right? And, the next morning, I got pulled in like, I got yelled at by the captain, and the captain told me if I didn't fucking calm my shit down that I was gonna get left in port.
Well, sir, let me just ask you this one question because I really do think this is the case. I mean, because I mean, who's classically the sailors? Like wait, back when it was pirates, it was like the fucking convicts, the
Yeah,
rejects. It was the fishermen who couldn't fucking cut it as a fisherman who like does his job correctly and doesn't get shit faced every night. Like that's and it's almost there was a saying somebody told me where it was yeah, like your sea legs are just from the rum, like
yeah.
that's the only way to get your sea legs right is to get shit faced on, out in the open sea. And as it relates to like lighting golf balls on fire, what else are you supposed to do with a golf ball that's on fire other than hit it out into the open sea? Like that's not even polluting it. That's just smart fucking sailing right there. And like the Navy does it. We're fucking sitting there with the
Yeah,
50 cal just dumping shit into the
yeah.
ocean. Hopefully the dolphin doesn't swim by while we're doing it. It's like it's like no, we're churning and burning. Like that's the
Yeah.
only way to fucking go out to sea in my humble
Yeah,
opinion here.
absolutely.
So
You gotta
it's like
have
you were
some
doing
fun
it
and let
right.
loose. The problem was that it was an old person's boat, like, it was just senior
Yeah.
citizens, blue hairs up the wazoo. Back when I was a kid, blue hairs was a reference to old people who couldn't drive good. Now it's a reference to, like, young people who are out of their
Liberals and
minds.
stuff. Yeah. I
But
mean, you could be an old liberal
but
now, I
there it
guess,
was
and have
all
blue
old
hair.
people, so I stuck out like a sore thumb, like, just going crazy. And it was a great trip though. Like I really enjoyed it. Like, man,
Yeah,
Alaska is just beautiful. If you've never been,
absolutely.
you got to go
Absolutely.
someday.
Oh yeah. Oh
It's
yeah.
incredible.
I want to climb Denali really badly. It's definitely on the bucket list.
My uncle
Yeah,
almost died climbing Denali.
yeah, I know it's a tough one. I know that, and I know like the fastest because being active duty, and especially I got to do it while I'm young enough to like do it. I don't want to be
Yeah.
45, 55, whatever. Like I could probably, hopefully, do it, but I'm not banking on anything tomorrow, right? I always got to like plan for today, so I'm trying
Yeah.
to do it as soon as possible. And the problem being active duty is the time, just like Everest. Like Everest is just such a time like restraint and investment, not to mention the financial investment, but like the time it takes to climb Everest, people often don't realize. And that's just never going to happen while I'm active duty. I can't
Yeah.
get that much leave off.
Yeah.
Whereas Denali is right in that window where
Yeah.
it's like, it's a long time. Like it is a lot of leave, but if I save up the leave and then I plan the trip accordingly and I make sure that I'm, in shape and everything, equipment wise is good to go, I can be there and back and, make it to muster by
Yeah.
the end of the month. So
That ship
that's one
has
of those.
sailed for me. I am not doing any
Yeah.
mountaineering in my future. Nope.
That doesn't
Sorry.
itch gets that itch
Nope.
or, scratch that itch for you?
Yep.
Oh,
Maybe when
man.
I was younger and I had 2 hands, I'd have been down to do
I
something
feel you.
like that, but nope, I am
I
out.
feel you.
I am out on mountaineering at this point.
Yeah.
I'm not in good shape. I'm probably never gonna be in great shape again because it's hard to get this side of your body. Actually, it's kind of funny. When I broke my shoulder, I started doing a lot of band work, like with
Mhm.
my arm to get it back into shape. And I gained a lot of weight too, because I was pretty skinny at the
Yeah.
time. And I was kind of under the impression that if I had more muscle on my shoulder and my arm, that it probably wouldn't have broke. So I
Mm.
decided to like gain some weight. So I gained like 60 pounds or something like that.
Shit.
I went from like 160 to 220. Um,
Goddamn, dude.
so I'm a little hefty now. But anyways, I noticed a couple weeks ago, like I was just like kind of looking in the mirror for some reason. I think I was like popping a zit on my chest. And I was like, wait a minute, is my chest bigger on my left side than my right side? And then I kind of thought about it. I was like, oh shit, I've been doing all this band work on this
You
side. And like I'm always struggling to like get this arm to be the same size as this arm, which is never gonna happen again. But in the process, now my chest is lopsided in the other
you
direction.
fucked it up. Man, damned if you do, damned if you
Right?
don't, man.
I
That's
know.
shit.
I know
No,
it.
I definitely that again, that's why I'm like there's just things on the list that I continue trying to chip away at. And similar to like editing podcasts, right? It's
Uh-huh.
like when you add so many things to the list, it almost seems like an insurmountable list. And that's kind of how I lived my life, where I just have a pile of shit, and then I kind of like maybe I'm gonna climb to the top of that pile. Maybe I'll knock some things off of it as I'm climbing up there. But eventually, I'll be done with this like fucking
Yeah.
Sisyphus Prometheus climbing up
Yeah.
forever kind of a thing, you know. But yeah, that's definitely on there.
If,
I
if
agree. Like Alaska, I want to go back to so badly.
yeah, if I was
Same
gonna
thing
do
with
like an expensive vacation like that, I'd want to go to Egypt and check out the
Egypt.
pyramids and all the
Yes,
shit,
yes,
you
yes.
know? Like I
God
feel
damn.
like
But again,
that's
there's so many
something I've got
places.
to do by the end of my life at some point, but it's something I can do when I'm older.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, my parents are going there. I think this year, next year,
Cool.
whatever. And it's like their number one. At least my mom has always talked about this because she's into a lot of. My dad's into like the ancient alien side of it.
Sure.
My mom's just like into the traveling like historical thing. So they've gone fucking everywhere. And yeah, that's like the last one I think that's big on their list, and she just will not stop talking about it. And I actually had Shy not too long ago on the podcast was telling me like, yeah, these are the like this is where you want to go, and when you go, like this like no, it's one of those experiences.
Yeah.
Like, there's a reason everybody talks about it. There's a reason everybody remember. Like, it is one of those crazy, like, places. And then again, it's just like, oh man, it's like that and time travel are like the two things, that you
Yeah,
got to
I
add to the
know.
list. And that
I
one,
know.
like where you would go if you time travel, that one's got to be on
Oh
there.
yeah.
Like dinosaurs. I was talking to the wife about this not too long ago of like different places and people that I would want to meet with the
Mhm.
time machine. But yeah, what was going on
In
there? How do
Egypt,
I
yeah,
get to
I
the
know it. If I was gonna go, I would wanna do a trip with, like, like Randall Carlson does private
hmm
trips to Egypt, another guy named Ben Van Kerwick, who's, like, into this shit, like the Younger Dryas Impact Hypothesis and Atlantis and all that stuff, he does
So
private trips.
truth. Yeah,
So,
he's
like,
into
I would
truth.
wanna do one of those trips. I wouldn't wanna do the brochure trip where I'm gonna
No,
get
no.
the
Sanitized version
yeah, exactly.
of
Like
the textbook.
I wanna see the real shit, you know? I want
Exactly.
people to I wanna know like what's going on and, learn some shit while I'm there. Like I'm pretty into these podcasts and stuff like that, but yeah, I don't have like a great memory anymore. A
Mhm.
lot of brain damage from, a lot of electricity going through my
Here,
body,
here.
so it's tough for me to like remember this stuff, but I feel like if I was there in person, it would make like more of an
Cement
impact
it.
on me,
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
the sci-fi book that I'm writing, part of it takes place in ancient Egypt,
Oh
and
yeah.
like that's the hardest part of the book to write. I haven't gotten to that part yet, but it's going to be the hardest part of the book to write because it's going to
Mm.
require a lot of research.
Yeah, you got to
Um,
get it right. Everybody
yeah,
knows so
like
much shit about it.
the main character to my book he like gets nanites injected into him that keeps him alive for like 150 years or something like that, and he just kind of spends a lot of the time in the cabin reading books. So that's hard also because I have to put myself in like, my last couple books on required reading have all been science fiction. So like
Oh yeah.
I don't have like a great knowledge base on history or anything like that. So I've been
hmm
kind of using ChatGPT as that. So like after I'm done writing a chapter or a passage or whatever, I'll pump it in ChatGPT and say, "All right, I want you to edit it for grammar and syntax. Don't change any of the wording if you don't have to. Like I want it to stay in my voice." I've got a good prompt set up for
Yeah.
this. And then also after you're done editing underneath, I want you to give me references to different points in history that could be used as examples as to why this is, because
hmm
it knows now that like my character has read a ton of history.
hmm
Basically he cleans out the local library at his in the town that he grew up in and takes it with him after the apocalypse. So he's
Beautiful.
read a lot of books, and that's a tough position to put myself in because I haven't
Yeah.
read a lot of books. I've read a ton of sci-fi books, but I haven't read a
Yeah.
lot
Yeah.
of like actual, fiction or I
And
mean
chat well,
nonfiction.
AI is great for that, as
Yeah.
writers. I have found the same, or at least like a very similar, except I think I do in the reverse, where I have like a bunch of folders set up and, based on the chapter, and I have the folder for each chapter, like labeled, like resources or research. And if this chapter, like, using ancient Egypt as the example, I just fill that folder full of anything pertaining to that topic that I
Mhm.
can, just like, all right, how big is the
Yeah.
how where's the longitude latitude, how big is the pyramid, how many stones, what
Yeah.
are the angles, like just throw everything in there, and then as I'm writing, if I need to pick something or if I think of something that I might need as I'm going and that's not already in there, then I go down another like deep dive, and fucking AI is great for that. It's
Yeah.
like, give me,
Oh,
like you
dude.
said,
Like,
this, and this, and give me the references, and then you click, like give me the sites, the references, all these things, so you can triple check, these
mhm.
hallucinations that they that they sometimes
Yep.
have,
And you can go
and
back
it's
and forth
brilliant.
to different platform. You can go
Absolutely,
from ChatGPT to Grok and see if
yeah,
it's right. When I started writing this, like ChatGPT hadn't dropped yet. So
same.
like I was kind of wondering like, God damn, am I gonna have to like learn sacred geometry in order to like apply this to the book that I'm writing? And like that seems like it's gonna be pretty hard, you know? Like I'm decent at math, but I'm not great. And like I don't know how I would learn all of this stuff about like because sacred geometry is gonna come into the book a lot, you know?
Mm.
I haven't really gotten to that part yet, which is fine.
I mean, hit
But
me up. I got I did
yeah,
a whole
yeah.
series on
And
sacred
like I've
geometry.
got tons of notes that I've been taking since before ChatGPT came out. So like I have a lot of notes that are like related to this type of stuff. I'll hear something on a
Mhm.
podcast, go, "Oh, that's interesting. Let me write it down." And then I'll
Exactly.
like link the video with the timestamp on it so I can like go back and revisit it. But
Refresh it. Yeah.
with
Yeah.
ChatGPT, it's awesome. It already knows sacred geometry and it can
Hmm.
explain it to me better than like a lot of times you'll want an answer for a specific thing and maybe the video that you watched doesn't really give you that context. Like there's
Right.
a broader, conversation going on about the subject, but without the direct context, like it's hard to apply it to the passage that you're going for. But with ChatGPT, it's easy
Yeah.
to just be like, "Hey, apply this to that." You know?
100%. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's, I mean, I've been seeing a lot of things about Anthropic lately, back and forth with the government. And I don't know if you saw, slight segue here, but that CIA, they said tool, but they're also describing it as AI in some of the stuff I was reading, where they had, they were scanning for that down pilot using like his fucking specific heartbeat
I
signature.
just saw that before the podcast started.
Yeah, like what? It's like, again, like I mean, I always tell people that people are like, "Oh, do you know about this or even heard about that?" I'm like, dude, I'm CIA.
Yeah,
No, because I'm in the Navy.
yeah,
Second, I'm the last person to ever know. They won't even tell me. It's same thing with the COVID stuff. Like even when we were in the thick of the healthcare community during COVID, we were the last to fucking know. And
yeah,
most of the time, we had to listen to people who actually didn't know. So do not ever expect me to know shit.
yeah,
But when I saw that, I was like, holy fuck. There's just is one of those eye-opening moments where you know that there's something that you don't know, or you
mhm,
assume that there are plenty of things you don't know. At least I do. And it's one of those like illuminating moments, where it kind of reminds you, is like, shit, there's another, like, there's just so much in that giant well or that deep sea of shit that is definitely there. Like, I know it
yeah.
exists, but this was just like plucked out as like one little raindrop. And I'm like, fuck
Dude, you
me,
know
what
what's
else is in
crazy
there?
about that too is like I'm reading the last book of The Expanse right now. And in last night I'm listening to this chapter and it's got a character that's in power armor that's kind of like killing everybody. She's a fucking psychopath. And she's like killing everybody on a space station. And
Mm,
the power armor suit that she is in detects heartbeats. And like as I'm listening to it, I'm like, man, that's fucking creepy. Like, I wonder how it would do that, you know? And then
yeah.
today I see that the CIA can fucking do it. And it's like, holy crap, man. Like sci-fi and reality, like the line between sci-fi and reality is like blurring by the
Yeah.
day at this point. Like that line is just shrinking, you know?
Yeah. I
And
mean,
that was
yeah.
actually leads us go ahead, but I was gonna say
No, no,
that
no,
actually
no.
leads us to something I wanted to talk about with you was like
Oh yeah.
AI and like robots. Like I wanted to know where you are with robots. My co-host Dan and I are it's always fun to disagree with people on the podcast because a lot of
Mhm.
times if you're just agreeing on everything, it's not as fun. But like when you have a disagreement on something, it's fun.
Yeah.
And he thinks that like we are on the cusp of like humanoid robots taking control and doing all kinds of jobs and everything. And
Mhm.
and I don't think we're there. So I was interested to see like where you're at on that.
Well, yeah, I know we've glossed the topic as when it's in the news trending or whatever. I know we glossed it. I think the last time it was Elon's like infomer his marketing
Mhm,
commercial that he had for one of his latest humanoid robots.
mhm,
And I think I think we're both in agreements with this, with like a couple caveats. The agreement that I think, or the same level you and I agree to, is that there are those complex tasks and jobs that humans currently do that I just haven't seen. Yeah, the ability of like a human, specifically when I say that, is humanoid robot. So like
Mhm.
I haven't seen, even I don't even know what's the latest model or greatest model out there right now. We'll just use Musk's as like
Sure.
the baseline, right? I forget what the robot's even called,
I think
but
it's a Tesla robot, isn't it?
is it something boring? I thought he
I
had
don't
like a
know. I
fucking
don't
nickname or
remember.
some shit. I don't know, but it doesn't matter. Let's just use that as the baseline. Like I haven't seen anything that really like makes me trust that it's going to be like replacing people on the battlefield, that it's going to replace people, in like a complex task, even hospice work. Like I know I was hopeful of it because I thought it would. Well, I still think that it is a great benefit if it can, but it's just like there are certain things that it'll do, where it just like it definitely loses me, and I lose hope in it. And like I think last time we talked, you had mentioned like construction,
Mhm.
like going up and down ladders, or like picking up sandbags. It's like, yeah, individual, just like
I
picking
can't
up the
remember
sandbag.
what we talk about a lot. Like I said earlier, brain
We're
damage.
good.
So if we
We're
talked about
good.
this already, I do apologize.
No, we're good. No, I think we glossed because the latest updates with it is that I think it's more specialized. Like again, if you have like a specialized even a humanoid robot, we'll just say that takes the sandbag, picks it up, and that's all they do. Yeah, I can totally trust that they can do. They can pick it up, they can put it down. They can pick it up, they can put it down. To pick it up, to twist, to like scan the terrain, to get to the end result, to open up the bag, to pour the bag. I just don't see the robot with every single task as good as a human at this point. Now, I might I might agree with your co-host Dan in that it is coming. It's just like the timeline keeps shifting in like I'll see something, I'm like, oh shit, it's tomorrow. But then I think
Mhm.
I overestimate, or I over like hope based on something that I saw,
A
and
video or
say
something. You'll see a
exactly,
video.
exactly.
And so, like, here's where the videos where I don't necessarily buy the videos. So, like, I've got a
Hmm.
couple really cool videos of me doing things with my prosthetic hand, picking
Hmm.
something up, putting it down, grabbing this, smashing a can, yada, yada, yada. The problem is like when I put that arm on, I have to go through a programming thing where I go through the motions, I follow the hand doing what it's doing, and it creates a map of my nerves firing. It detects these small electrical signals and it can kind of create itself a map. So then
Sure.
I can go ahead and I can pick up the glass in front of me. I can put it down and do this and that. The and you see that on the video. What you don't see is when I take that hand off and put it on again the next day, I have to go
Hmm.
through all the programming again. I can't just put the thing back on and have it automatically do everything that I want it to do. And I think that's a lot of what we're seeing in these videos where you're programming this thing to do a specific task and
Yeah,
it's doing it for the video because this is a produced video. It's made to show what it's capable of doing. But if you take it, from one kitchen where it's able to do the dishes to a different kitchen with a different layout, it's not going to be able to do it right off the bat. Maybe they'll be able to get it to do it quick, maybe not. I don't know because we can't see behind the camera. And
sure.
then the next hang up that I have with it is portable power, where
Mm.
like, right now we're capable, like we've got electric dirt bikes that have came out in the past few years and they look cool, they look fun, and people have a blast on them. But when it comes down to like racing and doing 2 35-minute motos, it can't do it. It can do
Yeah.
maybe 15 minutes on a dirt bike track before it runs out of power. And that's at a very heavy load.
Hmm.
So when I apply that to like a humanoid robot, it's like, okay, maybe these things would be able to do heavy construction work for a couple of hours, 2, 3 hours. But then, like, what do you do while it's charging for another 2 hours? Are you going to have multiple robots to do the same job that one
Yeah.
human could do?
Just like an
Or,
endless stream
like,
somehow.
and how
Like.
much are these things going to cost? Let's say
Hmm.
you have to have 3 robots for every human that you're replacing because of the power requirements to it.
Hmm. Yeah.
We're talking what, 300 grand for robots just as an upfront cost, and then your power bill. How do you get the power out to a place where you're not plugged into the grid? What are you using? Are you using a diesel generator to power these things up while one of them's working and one of them's charging? I don't
Yeah.
know. So
Well,
to me, like that's kind of the major hang up here so far is like we don't know how good the programming actually is on these things because we're seeing very small windows into what they're capable of doing. And then also, we don't know how long they're going to be able to last on a single charge.
yeah. I mean, great. I don't disagree with anything you're saying. I think maybe again, because like you said, it's fun. And let's even if we're just gonna play devil's advocate for a second
Sure.
here. If I'm gonna make the argument for it, maybe it's the connection of dots. Maybe it's development because even a robot that we see today was a collection and conglomerate of a lot of technologies that had to get really good
Mhm.
before they could get combined into what we're
Yeah.
seeing. And maybe that's just still again why I say I'm confident it's inevitable because as long as we don't blow ourselves up, like we're still on pace to have enough of those technologies that get good enough to put together to make something great. And I think maybe, yeah, to your point, the battery technology right now, maybe that is one of its like bottlenecks and hindrances or limitations. But when I talked to Shy, because his whole he works in the solar industry, and that was the point he made where I was asking about like conversion, like aren't we like at the Moore's law limit of conversion of possible energy that is extracted from the
Yeah.
sun? He's like yeah, but I don't ever. That's never a part of the conversation because we already have it's already to a level that is good enough. Right now, what we have is storage. Energy storage
Mhm.
is the problem. So he's like batteries is the next obstacle for the industry. And I was like, oh, I did hear, like I hear a lot of the conversation, certainly secondary to what you're seeing every day if you're working in the solar industry. And I'm sure, the battery, pack or whatever it's going to be for even if it's not, even if it's a 3-to-1, ratio for robots to human work, I think it's going to be because I can think of a couple ways that it could be, like it could outpace, for example, I don't know where it was, DSM, whatever it was, where it was like the human like capacity for work is usually like somewhere in the neighborhood of like 4 hours a day. Like your maximum output, even if you're sitting there for 8 hours a day, you take a lunch break, you take a piss, you have to get back in the flow of things. You have like dilly dally admin stuff. Most of the time, like in the full thick of it, like writers will say this all the time. It's like 4 hours, like that you're really in it, that it's like really productive work. And this is for most jobs.
Yeah.
Physical,
Not for line
I think it's
work. Not for line
yeah. I was
work.
gonna
We
say
were 12
even
hours a day, no breaks.
physical is like where I think is the biggest like replacement that or the biggest potential for replacement because if there is a way that you can convert the energy right and like we know how we know how physics work, we know how the energy has to get in, has to come out somewhere. If we can figure out the conversion currently, it's like the conversion for humans capacity for work is not as like in terms of percentage wise like as optimal as we could get it if it was
Mhm.
mechanical. Biology is just that's the way it is. It's doing all these other functions, so you're losing a lot of that energy. Whereas if it was like, this is why I go back to specialized to your point on like, if they're programmed for this exact demonstration, right, to show that it has the capability, but it's not like all one cohesive unit yet. If they're specialized, if we get to a point, especially when it comes to like manufacturing costs and like production costs, we get to a point where each step has a specialized robot similar to like conveyor belts now,
Mhm.
and we have such an interconnected like marketplace, if you will, or even like construction site, if you will. Like maybe there's just like I can envision a giant warehouse, right? That comes, is assembled on the site if it's building, a 2-story house, and everything within that warehouse like box that gets dropped into this, construction zone has a fucking specialty arm that lifts lumber and cuts it. There's another specialty arm that fucking nails or screws or rivets or whatever. And there's another specialty arm that is just scanning from the warehouse walls. It's just like watching the whole thing operate. And it's ran through a bunch of fucking like LLMs and like a bunch
Yeah.
of fucking, equivalent for construction, right? I can, there's a mixing pit, there's a fucking asphalt pit, there's a fucking roofing, arm. I can see that being like the quote unquote robot. But again, now back to the humanoid question. It's like, I always wondered what was the use, maybe to get esoteric here for a second. What's the fucking use of a humanoid robot? Like,
Sure.
why would we say that this is like the optimal, again, back to the like the biology question. Why are
Yep.
2 arms and two
Yep.
legs? The only thing I can think of, the only thing that makes any sense, and I don't think it's a good argument, is putting it into things that are already designed for human use, right? Like
Mhm.
if we have cups that are designed for our hands, it would make sense that another hand is also able to use it in the same way. But I think that's a shitty argument. I really
Yeah.
don't think that like holds up, you know? It's like, yeah,
This
we
is
can run, but don't we all agree that the wheel is better in a car
yeah.
than fucking running? It's like I think there are much better designs that exist. And the fact that we're like stuck on this humanoid robot that is at a Blade Runner or something, I think the only one I can really put two and two together and it's going to come out of left field, or maybe it's not. People might be shocked and surprised. I think it's for fuck robots. That's
Yeah.
100% what
I
I think
think
it's
you're
for.
probably right. And this
It's
is
so that we
something
can
I was
reproduce.
thinking about when I was looking into prosthetics. It was like, okay, the human hand is an incredible, product of evolution of
Sure.
hundreds of thousands of years of trial and error to get to where we've got a thumb and four fingers, right? But like,
100%.
why are we building prosthetics that are not the pinnacle? Like, sure, it's the pinnacle of evolution right now, but like, what are we going to look like if we're still alive 5 million years from now? It's not gonna
Mhm.
be the same hand. And, like, one of the thoughts that I had is, like, why do I have just a pinky when I could put a second thumb on this thing
Mhm.
and, like, have
Yeah.
it on a pivot that I could pull down and have a second thumb? Why don't I have a tentacle, like an octopus tentacle? Like, why are we making things that aren't done yet? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And, like, that
Yeah.
was one of the things that I thought about immediately when I started looking into prosthetics. And, like, I agree with you on, like, if we'll take the house example, for instance, like, why would you why would you put 10 humanoid robots onto a job site when you could just have a truck that has a 3D printer, a couple of big arms like they use in factories for moving
Yeah.
stuff around, and, a crane on it for setting things, where they
Yeah.
need to be set. Like, we don't need to deploy 10 robots to do the same thing that 10 people are going to do when you could have a truck of specialized equipment that all has its own task. Where, like,
100%.
the humanoid robot is like the Swiss Army knife compared to, a specialized version of something where it's like, okay, this is going to 3D print the outer structure. This is going to put together the, roofing trellises and stuff like that to, and then we're going to use that to drop this on top of the main structure, and then we're going to have something else that, and then finally you have a humanoid robot come in to finish the bathroom,
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
the house is built and something needs to be able to walk inside and put something together and blah, 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 blah. But
Yeah.
again, like, we don't know. Sure, maybe it'll be able to do it if you're building the same house 500 times. You know what I mean? But if
Mhm.
somebody wants a different floor plan, like, how is that going to work out? Is the robot just going to run into walls all day because it's used to walking and taking two lefts and a right instead of a right and three lefts? Like, you know what I mean?
Well,
So it's
yeah,
it's an
like it
it's an interesting problem that, like, I don't really think people think too deeply about this. They just watch the videos online and go, "Oh, these
sure.
things are ready to take my job."
Yeah. I think there's because if I always come back to the same thing. Like, yeah, I agree with you. People fail to think deeply about a lot of things out there.
Yeah.
But when it comes to a question that I can't answer, I always like hits one of two. Like a question hits one of two the spots in my head. It's usually the answerable and unanswerable. If I can think of a couple ideas, then I'm always like similar to the boat notes from earlier. It's like I know there's a solution to fucking toilets because I'm looking
Mhm.
at I'm looking at the Carnival cruises. They've obviously solved it,
Yeah.
so there's
It's
the
called
but if I have
Mexicans.
a couple, say again.
It's called Mexicans.
Oh, yeah, a large
Or
workforce, which the Navy already
Filipinos, you
has.
know?
Yeah, sure. You're not far off from, but that's more to my point. The Navy has plenty of
Yeah.
both of those.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck is there? There's no shortage. So it's just like if I can think of possibilities, like as you're describing, like is he going to take two lefts and a right? It's like we have three-dimensional like software that creates three-dimensional spaces, and if we had the same software that's inside this whatever robot, I'm pretty confident that it could traverse that 3D space if it knows the dimensions and knows the space that it's existing in. I think there are again, now if I can think of those things already, I know there's somebody whose
Yeah, 5
job it
steps
is
ahead.
just to exactly. That's kind of where my brain is like one of two categories. Now, if I'm on the side where it's like, yeah, I can't even think of how you would approach this, how you know, I go do a chat GPT or a Google search or whatever, and there is somebody who's already figured, I'm like, oh fuck, that's how that works. Again, like taking people, let's segue a little bit because I'm gonna use this as an
Sure.
example, and I'm curious what your thoughts are on this as well. Because I think it's hilarious and so much fun. I don't know. I know math, decently well. I like to say. The other day I was flexing it, and I was like, it's coming back to me. It's definitely not as sharp as it once was, but I was reading. It was Project Hail Mary. I was listening to, and it
Great
was
book.
talking about like the different like specific gravities of
Mhm.
water and like the amount of bonds on x what was it xenonite. And I was like, oh yeah, that's in there. And I had to like jog my memory of like how to do these things. Like that's right, stoichiometry. Okay, I remember how to do this. And so I'd say I'm decent at it. But if you're gonna tell me or you're gonna ask me how to send 4 people to the fucking moon and back, I'm like, okay, I know. Fuck, now I got to really reach in there for the physics. I know we
Yeah.
got the movement
The
and the
rocket
spin of
equation.
two. Yeah, yeah, we got Newton. Yeah, we got the laws of gravity here, but it's not. Well, is it going to be relativity? Not quite because it's not far. Like I gotta go into a lot of different places for that, and it's going to take me a lot longer than somebody's job it is to do that. Next year or whatever it is, and we're doing this constantly, right? So it's like anytime that I find one of those problems, especially now with the technology we have, it's almost where I can, if I decided to, go and answer that question for me. Very rarely now are there answers or there are questions that I haven't been able to like do a quick search, like, yeah, that makes sense. Or put two and two together. There's like, again, back to the fucking Carnival Cruise. That one I need to figure out who's in the fucking machine space. I need to reach back out to anonymous sailor so and so. Who's in the machine space? Who the fuck is in the laundry room? Are they setting shit on fire? Are they emptying the fucking traps again? Like who's part of the HTs? Who's part of the health crew? Who's part of like who are these people? I want to get them on the speakerphone. Be like, all right, what exactly are we doing right now? And where can we trim the fat or how can we bolster the muscle? Like what exactly is not happening here? And that's just like a cursory example of of a problem, right? That has a fucking solution out there. There are plenty of people that solve it. We just really aren't. So as it relates to this moon thing,
Yeah,
that was my segue in that.
sure.
What's going on with Artemis too? Are
I
you
don't
part of the
know,
are you
man.
part of these conspiracies and all this stuff? Because my timeline, I don't know, because I don't think I cater my timeline that heavily to fucking, the moon landing is fake, but like everybody's like, well, of this and this and the shadows of this and this. I'm like, oh brother, like I
Yeah,
don't even want to go down the rabbit hole right now to even see what people are saying because
yeah,
it's like I have a personal connection to, and so to know that somebody who's actually out there is lying to me, I'd be like, I just don't see it. I
yeah,
just so maybe that makes me biased, but I'm like, I know I know astronauts and the
yeah.
NASA involved. I'm like, no, they're definitely going, guys. There's probably a lot of questions, and maybe things are faked, but I'm having a hard
So
time on this one.
for me, like I'm fully on board with we never went to the moon in the
Hmm.
60s. Like I
Hmm.
I really don't think we did. I think that Kubrick did it, and I think we
Oh
had
yeah,
every reason to fake it and make the Russians spend themselves into Bolivian.
I don't
And
disagree.
but I think that they're probably going this time. I did see that one of the astronauts said in an interview that we're going to the moon for the first time, which
Yeah, yeah. A little
hey,
slip, a little
what's
Freudian
what's
slip,
going
maybe.
on there? What's happening with that? And but my biggest takeaway from it so far is that I think it's really funny that they're trying to turn this into a big thing. Like, oh, we're going back to the moon. Everybody should be so excited. And kind of like the main thing that I'm seeing on Twitter is like, yeah, fuck you. I can't afford gas for my car. So like,
Yeah,
why
fair.
don't you stop wasting my money going and doing a lap around the moon? Like, screw off. Like, this is bullshit. We can't afford to live, and you guys get to go and play around in space. So instead of it being this big, oh, we're gonna come together around the moon type thing, it's like, no, fuck you. Stop spending our money on bullshit. If Elon wants to pay his own money out of his own pocket to go to the moon, let him do that. I'm fine with that. Maybe stop giving him so many government contracts. Like that would be great. Like, why do we need NASA and private NASA? Like
Well, private NASA already proved that they were
that's
better.
SpaceX is yeah, private
Yeah,
NASA, you know, and I did
I
see that Elon took SpaceX public last week, which I
I
think
did.
is pretty interesting. I
Mm,
do think that that's going to be a good investment opportunity for a lot of people because
mhm.
um, I do think that we are just a couple technologies away from being able to have actual space infrastructure at some point.
Oh,
I think that the moon could offer for a great like opportunity for mining and the cool thing about the moon is like there's no gravity and atmosphere there. So if
mhm.
you're mining shit, you can just make like a mass driver on the moon and just send stuff back at Earth all day, every day, powered by, solar
Yeah,
panels that are
yeah.
getting a ton of light and like I know the daytime on the moon's like 2 weeks long or something like that. I don't really know a ton about the moon, but I know that they get a lot of sun up there and there's no refraction from environment like there is down here, so like you can mine for all sorts of cool shit up there, including like helium-3. If we ever figure out how to do fusion reactors, like you've got a gas station right there on the moon and you can just
Yeah.
launch stuff at Earth all day, every day, and not have to worry about shipping and trains and planes and automobiles and all that
Mhm.
stuff. You can just drop that shit right into the right, with a parachute to where it needs to go. So I think
Yeah.
that's pretty cool. Um, I do think at some point he'll merge that company with Tesla, and it'll probably be the biggest company to ever exist.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah. I
talking
mean,
trillions
yeah.
of being worth trillions of dollars. So I do think that's like a good investment opportunity for people. I've got some dry powder right now, and I think that in the next couple weeks, like I'm thinking there's probably some FOMO going on with it initially going public and everybody wanting to get in right away. So we'll probably see a dip in the next
Mm.
couple weeks to a month, and I'm gonna get in on that.
All right. This is not financial advice,
Nope,
ladies and gents, but
absolutely
this
not.
is
This is what I'm
but
doing
this
with
is
with
definitely a
my
smart
money.
idea. I like it. I mean, again, we don't we disagree less and less it seems, and I don't I I don't know how the 60s and fall into it exactly in that it's just it seems like it would be it checks out in terms of like all this shit CIA
Yeah,
and everybody was doing at the time. It's like, yeah, we were really
why
good at
not fake it if you can?
exactly. If you can is like the only caveat is like the if part of like
And it's not like they had a track record of being completely honest with the
yeah,
people of the United
yeah.
States, like
NASA
The
specifically.
Gulf of Tonkin was just a few years, before
Oh,
that, right?
yeah.
So,
Don't
like
try to convince a fucking try to convince an upper either enlisted or officer about false flags.
yeah. Oh,
Anytime they're
dude,
like, well,
Operation Northwoods was right around that time too, which was
luckily
like
it didn't really quote unquote didn't happen,
yeah,
right? Because we
yeah,
don't say anything about '01
yeah,
happening or not happening.
exactly.
But but at the same time it's like yeah,
Dude, they were experimenting on people. There was what was that one in the South, where they were experimenting on the Tuskegee
to
experiment?
see experiments, yeah,
MK
yeah,
Ultra was
syphilis.
going on. They were
Oh yeah.
dropping, radiation, nuclear shit into San Francisco
Man.
just to see what happens. Like
I
these
mean,
were some seriously sick, fucking twisted, demented people that were in
they
charge of
were
this thing. And like, why wouldn't you lie about it? But like, I also like to caveat when I say that I personally, if I had to bet all my money, did we go to the moon or not, I would bet on not. But I also wouldn't be surprised if we have bases on the backside of the moon right now, you
yeah,
know?
well, again, as you're describing like all the shit that the CIA was doing even back then, it goes back to that earlier like analogy of like those are just like little droplets, those are just
That's
raindrops
what
on
we
all the other
know
shit that's
about. That's just
exactly.
what we know about. Think about all the gnarly shit that they've done that we have no fucking clue that they did.
Exactly. And probably never like
Never
I
will
always
know.
think
We'll
I
never
always
know.
think about this timeline
Because
like
if they drop everything that they've done over the years, then we have to wonder what are they doing now?
yeah. Well, that's why when the fucking to the heartbeat portion, it's just like, okay, if we talk about timelines in a like non-subjective fashion, is there anything that would stop, like what like those in power, the elites, those outside the simulation, if you will, depending on how many levels you want to go up,
Yeah.
uh is there anything stopping them from, again, back to like technology being indiscernible from magic? Is there anything stopping them from having just having everything decades, centuries, even past what we currently, like you and I, as we're talking right now, what we currently both understand and can imagine? There, again, being objective about it, absolutely not, because there's even if you take like every part of history at face value as it currently exists, as we currently understand it, we're talking about things that that like people fail to fathom this. Did you see the Bob Lazar
Yeah,
interview?
I did.
Yeah, my dad's all like he
I
loves
haven't
him.
watched the documentary yet, but I do wanna watch it because I think it would be cool to see the
Oh yeah.
visualizations that they were talking about.
Yeah, so my dad, he's big into all of those, and he loves Rogan anytime he has UFOs on. So he immediately we watched that, and he's like, "Oh yeah, we got to definitely go grab the movie on Prime." He's like, "Is it out yet?" And I was like, I think it
It
is. So
is,
let's go
yeah.
ahead. We'll go ahead and rent it or buy it or whatever, and we'll watch it." So we did back to back. We did the Rogan, then we did that, and it was one of those moments where it again we got into this conversation. He's like, "So what do you think?" And I was like, "Well, did you hear about like?" I think it was Ted Cruz and like some Australian PM was like, "Yeah, they have breeding programs. Like, you might be surprised at who's not entirely human. Current like
Yeah,
you
I
would
heard
know
that.
them and like stuff like that." And he's like, "Well, what do you think? Where do we?" And so we just got in this like discussion, and I was like, "Well, at the end of the day, it comes down to." It could be all of these things, right? Until I have substantiated evidence. There's one theory. It's like you're living in a zoo, right? And we're in this
Yeah.
simulation thing.
Yep, zoo
Simulation
hypothesis.
theory kind of like overlaps it, and maybe it's a simulation. Maybe the simulation is the zoo. Maybe like the consciousness. And then I'm like, we could be harvested for meat. We could be harvested for souls. Like there's all
Yeah.
these theories.
That
These
was
crazy.
one of the
Maybe
things that
we're
Bob said was containers.
yeah. And again, so what he and I were kind of discussing is just like personal feelings, personal thoughts, and I kind of like solidified for myself. I'm like, honestly, either A, I'll never know, or and B, it won't matter if I
Yeah.
do. Like until I actually know, it won't matter. And
Mm.
so a lot of these timelines, again, being objective, if people actually sat down and thought about it, it's like how much further ahead could those in power be, or those elites or those outside the simulation could be. And I equate it back to like the deer that, tagging a deer or an animal right now. It's like they live their life, they, have their babies, they, eat their grass, like they are perfectly fine, right? Doing their shit. And one day, unbeknownst to them as to why or how or, for what objective, they are black bagged,
Yeah.
they are drugged, they are hit with a technology they will never comprehend or understand in this millennium, let alone another one. And then they're thrown back out into the wild where they got to, tell their friends like, you guys, you don't understand what just happened. I was just abducted. They probed me
Yeah.
and then they threw me back out here. And it's like,
I could
okay,
feel it in
okay,
my stomach.
right? Okay, Jerry, sure. What's that fucking earring you're wearing now? Fucking Jerry the deer. Like, Jesus Christ, man, get out of here with that crazy nonsense. And he's got to go through, his life now with this fucking tag. And now he's like, I think they're listening. I think they can follow me. I always feel like there's somebody, so there's something there. And they looked weird. They were like, you see them every now and then, every like once a year when they come out and they kill us. Like, I feel like they're related or something in some way, weird way, And there's metal container, this box they put me in. And it's like, how does a deer ever get to the point where they're on the same level as us? It's like
Mhm.
we're not. We split a long time ago. We are continuing on and we're doing our own thing. And there's nothing that is going to get into the brain, into the consciousness, if you will, of that deer that is going to make sense at that level, right? So
Mhm.
if that's the case, and which why wouldn't it be? Why is this not possible in terms of, again, objective reality of how large a time scale we're talking about here? There's no reason to think that, especially now taking it back down to the micro, back or macro, back to you and I, the CIA, let's just assume that they are 100% human, 100% all the, like just you and day, everyday blokes. They've had power, as we said, for how long? 100 years roughly
Something
now?
like that. Yeah.
19, what was it, 1930-ish, somewhere
Mhm.
around there, 40 for sure. They were doing some crazy shit post World War II. So let's just give them, between 80 and 100 years. And they've had unlimited budget, unlimited resource in terms of manpower, basically all that time what can be done? And let's assume that they're not getting UFOs and they're not back in engineering anything. Let's just assume those three things right there: unlimited money and time and resources, and the last 80 to 100 years. And then the last thing is completely unchecked. There's nothing. There's no government that
Yep.
has existed during the CIA that has ever gotten them in line. That is ever other than, hey guys, that's really shitty. Don't do that, please.
Yeah.
Don't like. We have to beg. Don't do experiments on your own citizens.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, sure, sure, sure,
Kennedy
sure.
tried to get him in line, and look what happened to him.
And look what the fuck. So it's like, is it really outside the possibility that they're so much further that they have
Sure.
heartbeat monitors that go across the fucking globe, let alone whatever else that we don't know that's in that fucking bucket? Like, yeah, honestly, it's like back to the simulation theory. That's almost more probable in my mind. It's
Mhm.
like it's almost a guarantee that they got way crazier shit out there. Now, again, maybe this is where I saw the one video, I read the one thing, and now I'm kind of like my imagination's running away from me, and I'm more hopeful or exaggerating the possibilities here. But I feel like if I had unlimited resources and time, manpower, absolutely
I'd do
zero
some
moral
crazy
code,
shit.
we could do some shit. We could do some shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
And
would definitely get up to some shit for sure. So,
and here's like when I was a kid, I was always into like UFOs and aliens and shit like that. And I was always under the opinion of like, why don't they tell us about it? Like they all would always make like the religious argument, oh, people are going to
mm,
freak out if they find out. And I was always thinking like, no, they're not. Like people are mature enough at this point and we've had science fiction for long enough that they're not really going to freak out. And then I started like as an adult started thinking about it more and I was like, fuck, I might freak out, Like
yeah,
when it comes to the zoo hypothesis, like me and you and everybody listening to this podcast, we're already in a zoo. It's the
yeah,
CIA, the government, like they are the zoo masters, and we're in very large cages, but still within cages. Like we are within the zoo right now.
absolutely,
There's certain
absolutely.
certain things that we can and cannot say and do and cannot do. And like our entire like look at like gas prices right now you know
Mhm.
like we're at the point where if a couple more things go poorly we're going to be having $10 a gallon gas and nobody's going to be able to go to work.
Yeah,
Nobody's going to be able to fly and go see grandma for Christmas next year. Like these people are constraining our movements, they're constraining our dollars, they're constraining our capital. And what happens if we find out if those people are in a zoo as well,
hmm
and that
exactly.
there's a space daddy out there who's really in charge, who's really going, okay, like we're gonna let you guys get away with certain things, but at some point we're gonna step in and just turn off your nuclear missiles just to show you that we can,
Yeah, yeah.
And what does that say as us for a civilization if these things, people, whatever you want to call them, come out and land on the White House lawn and go, yeah, we're here. What does that say for our independence, for our bodily autonomy,
Mm,
for our choices, as people? At that point, they're coming out and straight up telling us and showing us that you are no longer in charge of your own life. You're no
mm,
longer in charge of your own countries. You're no longer in charge of your own planet. We may be hands off, but if you do something that we don't like, we're going to step in and say, no, you
mm.
can't do that. And
Yeah,
I
daddy's
think that
home.
that's a daddy's home. Exactly. Get the belt. You go grab me the
Exactly.
belt. And
I
it could
mean,
easily turn into childhood's end. Like childhood's end is a scary story because they come. I don't know if you're familiar with that one, but like these aliens come down and they go, oh, we're going to end all your war and end all your strife. And we're going to redistribute all of your wealth. And it looks like a communist dystopia at first. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh no, we're here to harvest the souls of your children and upload them into the overmind because that's what it wants us to do. And turns out like the zookeepers are also in a zoo within that book, and the
goddamn.
hierarchy just keeps going up and up and up. So I don't
Yeah, you.
know. I don't quite know what to think about a lot of this. Like one of the more interesting like recent UFO theories has been like the have you seen the MH370 video with the orbs and stuff?
That it made it disappear. Yeah, I've
Yeah,
seen
like
that a
that's
couple
an
coming and
interesting
going.
one. Is that like real? Well, I don't know. There's
I've
sure
seen
like
I've
the
seen it
evidence
back and
kind of show
forth.
that it probably is a real video. It was uploaded a long time ago at a time where normal people didn't have access to the tools to create something like that. There
I want to speak
are,
out of line, but I want to say it was debunked by like a couple CGI
yeah,
artists. Are like,
but
oh,
that
you see this artifact and this
sure,
artifact
but those CGI guys are fucking also idiots,
again,
and
again.
people
Yeah, I know.
debunked their debunking. So
Did
like,
they?
it's
Yeah,
hard to
it's
know
been back
if
and
it's
forth. I have
real
seen
or
that.
not. But when you look at it, you go, huh, maybe. Maybe these
And
people have that. Like, how many technologies could we create from a down spacecraft? And if it's like what Bob Lazar is saying, that these are more of like things that they're giving us in order to study, like how long have we been looking at these things? How long have we
exactly,
been studying them? How many
yeah,
technologies have we been able to derive from them? You know,
100%.
and like, I don't know. Do I think that that video is real? I don't know. I really
Yeah,
don't know. Do I think that it's possible that we have the technology to do what people saw in that video? Maybe.
maybe. Yeah. Again, what this is the same question I was posing to my dad while we were talking before Easter. It- what does it change to you? Like, what is your reaction if Space Daddy lands on the front lawn of the White House, and it's like, what's a, because I have a very different, I feel like gut feeling, and back to if people had deep thoughts about this, like I wonder if they come to the same conclusion. So I'm curious, like, what would your reaction be
I don't
to,
know if it's
hey,
real.
yeah, so
I
like,
don't know if it's
would they have
real.
to land
I
on
don't know if
your,
this is the government pulling another false flag on us. I really
mm,
don't. Like, they would have to show me something that is like so far beyond us that there's absolutely no shadow of a doubt that what they're doing and saying is real. And I don't know what that is,
mm,
because right now we've got AI that's capable of creating very advanced videos that look very real. How great are deepfakes that the CIA and the NSA are creating right now? Probably really fucking good. You know,
yeah,
I really don't know. Like, even if you show me a faster than light spacecraft or a craft like, you show me a craft that we saw in the Go Fast video or something like that, and it lands on the White House lawn. I still don't know that our government hasn't figured that out in secret. Like, I
exactly,
don't know what Space Daddy would have to show me in order to convince me that what they are presenting themselves at is real. Because at this point, like, we've been lied to and propagandized so fucking heavily for my entire life that I don't know what's real and what's not.
hmm,
Would I be surprised if this Artemis mission is a fucking video game? Absolutely not. I wouldn't be
hmm,
surprised at all. My gut feeling is that it's not, and they're probably going at this point. But would I be surprised to find out that, like, there was that movie, A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Moon, where this guy found like all kinds of crazy shit within, these like moon missions and all this fake shit that's like clearly fake,
yeah, yeah,
and like, are people going to find stuff like that within this Artemis mission? I don't know. And if they are, like, are they faking it? Is Artemis
exactly,
faking it?
yep,
Who's
yep,
faking it?
yep,
Is the shit real? And I don't
yep.
know how we figure out like how something is real at this point.
Yeah. Well, that then, because I that's it's ironic, funny, whatever, coincidental. I had the exact same reaction where it's like, yeah, if fucking C-SPAN, CNN, fucking Fox, what are YouTube, Twitter,
Yeah,
they started streaming
professional liars.
exactly. Even if it was a live stream, again, back to your like deepfakes are getting real fucking good. Like
Yeah,
I've been watching these for a while now
video games
to
are
to
really fucking realistic.
and that's where I was like, so, and I told it, because my dad was like, yeah, I mean, like, there's good, because bless his heart, he's retired now, so I don't know that he's smarter than the average Joe. I will absolutely say that he's a fucking software engineer. Like, he definitely has his head on, at least partially working right. But at the same time, like, I'll say something like, oh no, I didn't know that, and it's always like about like AR technology. It's like, yeah, like I can do this with voice cloning,
Mhm.
like, and it's very like, would you believe it if you got a like a ransom phone call? And you'd be like, well, yeah, like, why wouldn't I? I'm like, because it can be faked. I can fake
Happens
it.
all the time.
Yeah,
I just watched a video last week where an old guy ended up shooting an Uber driver that was doing a pickup for a ransom video at his house. They used AI to create a voice of his
fuck.
grandson or something like that, convinced him that the guy was being kidnapped, somebody showed up to pick up the money, and the scammers paid a Uber driver to come and get it, and the guy shot her 3 times.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, yeah. And again, and obviously we don't know what we don't know, kind of a thing. So I don't, I don't nag on anybody who doesn't know something. But it's like, imagine if similar to like when Google Earth came out. I've always go back to this example when Google Earth first came out, and we were like, zooming in, we could see like the shadows of people in Paris. I was like, if this is publicly available
Yeah, what
technology,
do they have
it's
behind
what
closed
they have
doors?
so much better. Exactly.
Yeah.
They're the government. And so what would uh, to the like the question of like what would you do if it landed on the White House lawn? Would it have to be your lawn? Would it have to be like would it
Even
have to be like
then, like, I don't know if
jump through
you're
the phone in an interdimensional kind of like way where you're like, am I tripping balls or am I getting greeted by a fucking interdimensional alien here? Am I losing my mind? Am I just hitting the veil of schizophrenic now? Did I finally crack? Like, what would it? Because I was thinking about that. I was like, to your point, how would you know what is real? Like, I certainly wouldn't right out of the gate trust anything, online on my phone, on TV. Like, that's just any scenario that I run in my head. That's the first thing that if you were the government or if you were in charge, you were the powers that be, that's the first thing you would absolutely do. And you see it in every sci-fi scenario play out. It's like the emergency fucking broadcast comes on the TV, all the alarms start sounding everywhere, everybody stands still to watch what's happening here. It's because they're almost like drip feeding the condition of like you look to the box, the truth box, right? You look to the box that's, I forget what the term was in Big Brother, like the fucking surveillance telly or whatever. It's like this is what you go to for authority. You
yeah.
work out in the morning because it tells you to. You fucking know that it's watching you, making sure that you're, stretching the way you should be and going to work on time and so on and so forth. Like, I mean, to
I
your
don't
point,
know,
what
man. Like, maybe a generation ship full of millions of aliens, like Rendezvous with Rama type of
if they
thing.
just look like
Like, it
us and it's
just
just
pulls up
like,
they could.
oh,
Like, I don't know, honestly. Like, it would have to be a true black swan event to a point where what you're looking at is just irrefutable, and I don't know
mm,
what that is, because
yeah,
I don't know what we're actually capable of in the dark shadows
yeah,
within, the government, within the
yeah,
scientific community. Like, I really don't know. I don't know what's going on the backside of the moon right now. Like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if we have bases back there and we're building shit right now.
yeah,
I
yeah.
wouldn't be surprised if there've been people on Mars for 20 years. I wouldn't.
Mhm.
Like,
I'm with you. Yeah,
there's, I don't know what they would have to show me. It couldn't be over a screen, that's for
yeah,
sure. Like, it would have to be something that people saw physically,
hmm,
that I saw physically. Like, how are we gonna know? Like, hey, here's pictures of our home planet and our civilization. It's like, well, I don't know if those are real.
hmm, yeah.
Like,
So you got a bunch of Photoshop
send?
pictures.
Who are we
Yeah,
gonna send to the planet that people trust enough to know that, like, okay, this guy went and saw this place? Like, remember Project Serpo, where which was kind of based on Close Encounters, where
hmm,
like they sent these people to planet Serpo, which is where the Greys live, and they lived amongst the Greys for years. Some of them died, some of them came home. Like, who do you send on Project Serpo that can come back and give you an
yeah,
honest recounting of what they saw and have you go, I believe that guy? Because, like,
hmm.
I don't know that that person exists. What are they going to do? Send me and you? Like, like
I mean,
people aren't going to trust us. You know what I
I've
mean?
thought about this a
Are they going to
lot. I
send
mean,
Tom Cruise? Nobody's going to trust him. Are they going to send the fucking Pope or the Dalai Lama? Those people are, I don't know. Like, I don't really know who or how you could prove what you're saying is real at this point, because everything's fake. It's
I,
like they say on South Park, everything's fake and gay.
okay. I think I kind of think that is a preconditioning that's happening, right?
Yeah.
Is to doubt everything so that when something
There
is
is no
irrefutable,
objective truth anymore.
well, there is now. There is, but it's intentionally getting obfuscated and muddled and
Yeah.
overshadowed by for good reason. Again, talk about strategy. That's a good strategy to do. You should definitely do. And I think I don't know if you've heard this one, and I like that we're going to go into this kooky realm, probably into the twilight of the show.
Yeah.
Well, maybe less kooky, but or I don't even know, maybe right on par for how kooky we like to get. But have you heard the Jesus, Savior, Messiah, whatever you want to call him, second coming is
Yeah.
part of all of this shit
Yeah. What do
that
they
that, that
call
we're
that? Project. Blue beam.
Yes, yeah. Like so the idea that, as I understand it, and and what sounds the most plausible of this crazy fucking theory, is that this happened, however many thousand years ago, and this was the end result, right?
Mhm.
Which was, we're going to create Christianity. And I was actually going down a rabbit hole not too long ago about the historical like record and how, it was Jesus real, was he not, who said it, how'd they say it. Like I went into all the gospels, I started comparing the different Bibles, the different discrepancies in like accounts, and like, just getting to my understanding, like my personal firsthand understanding of how this came to be, and then a lot of the arguments, against it, which, there are plenty and there are many, and I subscribe to quite a few of them. But one of them that was, like telling or convincing was, was this idea of like articulation to the best of your ability, right?
Mhm.
You use the language of the day, of the time, like you can't escape that as historians, as scientists, whatever, right? What would it look like today if, I just did the thought experiment of like, if I was around during, like the fucking son of Jesus, his brother's like, no, he's not. But then after he died, he's like, oh shit, he actually resurrected. And funny enough, yeah, I was thinking about this on Easter. It's like, today's the day, and all of a sudden he has risen, kind of a thing. What does that look like today? How would we describe that? How would I describe that? Right? All right, homeboy's in my backyard, and something's not exactly right. All right, so we're having dinner, and he's talking about how he's the fucking son of God, and he's all these things. Right? Today, more than likely, he'd be like, yeah, I'm actually not from here. I'm actually from a different dimension, a different planet, a different whatever. I'm actually here to save you guys and to help you guys,
Test you.
transition and, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Evolve and all these things. Right. Like, they would, if I was to imagine what it would sound like today, I would picture it more of like, yeah, an alien fucking visitor, a blonde, if you will, if you're familiar with like all the different species. Like, it makes sense that it would be like a visually appealing or a visually like translatable. It's not a reptilian because it's too scary, right? We don't like insects, we don't like, animals, right?
Mhm.
So if it looks, like a blonde, blue-eyed humanoid or whatever your fucking picture of a Jesus Messiah character is, he's not hard on the eyes, he's soft spoken, he tells it to you straight. He's like, look, this is how the world, this is how the universe works now, and I'm here to let you guys know this is what it is, and this is why I'm here, and this is where we're trying to go. And let's just say immediately, like, there's somebody who's like, now fuck you, you're blasphemous, right? Boom, shoots him in the face. All right, he's crucified again. Okay, then we have this water into wine, this resurrection, this miracle, this quote unquote starts happening. Translate that to today, it's like he's immortal, or you can't kill him. He's got some fucking techno, light armor on him that no bullet, no nuke, nothing can get through. And he starts quieting the nukes. He shuts down a reactor over there. It's like all of a sudden, I imagine there's going to be a very quick like light switch, like you said, a fucking black swan event for anybody who's around him. And as that, collection of people, let's just say now he starts walking across the Pacific Ocean, the collection of people who are Forrest Gump, like following this motherfucker, is going to grow at an at a pretty fast rate, regardless of whatever my live stream phone is telling me. I'm like, yeah, I don't believe it. And then all of a sudden he's at my doorstep. He's got a billion people walking across the Pacific Ocean with him. And now I'm sitting here like confronted with this situation where I'm like, holy fuck, like, where'd you come from? How'd you get here? How does this work? There'd be questions. For me personally, that's how I would react. There's questions. There's no longer like doubt. And if that's the case, now where does that send? What does post Black Swan event look like for humanity? And if that's, I don't know if you've seen this theory floated, but it's like it's coming this year, like part of the whole
It's always
Grand
coming
Master
this
plan,
year.
right? It's all
It's always
exactly
this
all the
year or
fucking
next year or
Baptists and everything.
something.
I'm with you on that one. And it's always like one of these things, and I'm like, yeah, in order to do that, it would have to be, and my brain kind of like concluded the thought experiment. It's like, it's got to be AI. It's got to be that moment of like consciousness where, you're like all of a sudden in the trippy DMT, like spirit realm of, hey, you guys are graduating out of here, and here's the AI that's like telling you how to,
Yeah.
is telling everything how it's actually done and how to do it. It's like once that gains consciousness and everybody's phone, like, fucking, I don't know, shuts off or starts talking or whatever it has to be. Again, my imagination is constrained by the same laws of
Mhm.
physics that yours is. But it's like whatever that moment, all at the same time, boom. What does it look like? That looks like progression. That looks like evolution. That looks like paradigm shift that again, I can see that it's outside my realm, and I can't quite touch it, but I know it's like it's right there. It's right on
Yeah.
the edge. It's right on the cusp. And yeah, again,
And the
not to say the
interesting
Baptists or anything else, whatever, but they're always saying it's right there. It's
yeah.
right fucking there.
And the interesting thing about this shit is like it seems to have pivoted from the spirit realm to the science fiction realm when we had the reference for science fiction. So in
Mm,
prehistory, we didn't have science fiction. We didn't know that there was other planets out there. We didn't know that there was other stars out there. Like we had no idea really what
yeah.
was going on. We had spirituality. We had God. We had demons. We had, voodoo and all this other bullshit that we kind of used to make sense of a world that we didn't understand. And then
Exactly.
once you get into like the 40s and science fiction starts becoming prevalent, now we have an idea for other planets, for other beings, for places, that we know could possibly exist at this point. And things pivot. Now we're not getting videos on Twitter of angels ascending
Hmm.
from the heavens. We're not getting videos of exorcisms and, demons showing up in people's, rooms at night. We're getting aliens and UFOs. And if this is something that has been here for a long time, it might be adjusting itself based on
Hmm.
our perception of reality.
100%. That was 100% my thought as well. It's like, and again, back to the why I think it's why we're always quote unquote on that cusp is because yeah, it's internal. We're exuding the thing that is internal. I mean, that's the thing about um like psychedelics. We were talking, father and I were talking about like ayahuasca
Yeah.
and like ibogaine and stuff. And it's like yeah, we have a lot of we have better language to translate what experiences are, but at the end of the day you know it when you know it, and, like, the DMT realm is always like, it's
Yeah. It's
archetype.
like it's like what they used to say about porn. I know it when I see it.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly.
And that's kind of where I'm at with, like, if somebody was gonna prove to me that I'm an alien and I'm from a different realm of existence or a different planet or a different galaxy, I'll know it when I see it because I don't
Mhm.
have the frame of reference to know at this point, like,
Right,
what is going to convince me as to if something is real or not. But I think
right,
I'll know it when I see it. And, like, that's
100%.
kind of where I'm at with that.
I love it, man. I mean, yeah, I think with a little introspection, we can all sort of agree that
Yeah.
that's as far as the logic goes, I think that's as far as it can possibly
Yeah.
go, And it's I don't know, it's wild times, and I always, back to the pessimism, aspect of like, yeah, we can't afford gas, like fuck you. Like part of me as a kid, part of me even now, I was like, this is awesome. Like, isn't it cool that we can do the humans can do this
Yeah.
thing? Isn't it cool that technology exists that has this capability,
Sure.
assuming that we can and that it does and all
Yeah.
that. Back to the pessimism side of it though, it's like yeah, I don't even know that it's like that I can't afford gas or that I don't want to hope it's back to like I'll know it when I see it. It's like I hope it's not one of those distractions, not one of those like bait and switch, not one of
Yeah.
those like drip feed you this thing because we're doing this other thing, And it's
Yeah,
like
and I'll say that, like, I trust Bob Lazar far more than I do David Grush and Lou Elizondo.
mm, that's a
I
good
think
yeah.
those guys are full of shit for the most part. Like, none of them have actually seen anything. It's all second and third hand information. ATIP or whatever it was called that Lou
Yeah.
Elizondo was running in the
Right.
Pentagon was a UFO club. It wasn't an actual fucking um program that was funded by the Pentagon. It was just something that he decided to do on his own. The New York Post has actually done some really interesting reporting on this. There's a guy named Stephen Greenstreet and Nick Pope that have done like a whole series of videos on like Skinwalker Ranch and these people, skinwalkers in the Pentagon. And like a lot of it has revolves around like Mormonism, where like all these people are Mormon and like the Mormon church has this, belief that like everybody has a planet and there's multiple worlds and the many
Yeah.
worlds theories. And I think a lot of this stuff around Skinwalker Ranch is like funded by Mormons to Mormons to prove that the Book of Mormon is real, and that's fucking wild, you know what I mean?
Again, would it
So, like
surprise me?
no,
No, it wouldn't.
and
Not at all.
so,
I
like,
hadn't heard that.
I don't I'm not saying that I believe Bob Lazar. I don't know if he's telling the truth or not.
Mm,
He seems to be very genuine.
yeah.
He was better on this previous podcast
Yeah.
or on this last podcast than he was on his first, where he had a
Yeah.
migraine and he was
Migraine or
kind of
whatever.
out of
Yeah.
it. But like the
Yeah.
first podcast was better, and there'll never be another one of those episodes. But
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Like do I think
I
it's
didn't know
possible
that.
that he's telling the truth? Absolutely.
Yeah, well, they see, it's funny you bring up Bob Lazar because I got the same impression. And again, I'm one of those who's like, oh, UFOs gets brought into the conversation. All right, my ears are perked. Let me hear, because I'm always like, let's hear from the horse's mouth with everything. Like the other day, the wife's like, why did it was a Communist Manifesto? She's like, why do you even have this? I was like,
Oh, you gotta hear what they
because
say.
yeah, exactly. I have to like if somebody I was finishing Thomas Sowell's book on Marxism, and he's like on page 60, on page 6 and page 63, they mentioned this and this, and there's a reference to one of their writings, blah blah blah. I'm like, well, the only way that I'm gonna actually know, not that I don't trust him, but it's to fucking grab the book and be like, oh
Yeah.
fuck yeah, that's right there. Highlight this, quote that. That's the only way anybody knows anything, at least that as far as I'm concerned. So that's why I was like, that's why I have it. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
you have to.
It's
That's why I have a
it's
Quran.
firsthand knowledge. It's not second and third and
Yeah,
fourth
exactly. I can
like you get with
trust.
from
Yeah.
Bob, or I mean not from Bob, but from,
Well,
these Lou
Elizondo.
Elizondo figures who I don't trust him at all.
Well,
I think he's
that's the point,
completely full of shit.
right? Oh, well, I got the same impression. Like I heard, like my ears perked up, and I heard what he had to say when they were testifying, and I was like, okay, okay, something similar to like when fucking Erica Kirk was like on doing the live stream afterwards. I was like, I want to give you the benefit of the doubt, and I want to be like, everybody grieves a little differently. And same thing with Elizondo. I was like, yeah, maybe you're just an eccentric guy, and who knows, like what you've been through that made you like jaded or something this way.
He
That maybe it's
teamed up
presenting to
with
me like this.
he teamed
But
up with the guy from Blink 182. If that's not a psyop, I don't know what is.
well, when it became, there was a fucking, wasn't it Disclosure? I think was a documentary when that
Something like
fucking thing
that.
hit, and
I haven't
I
watched
was
that
like, all
one.
right, it was on Amazon as well. I checked it out, and I was like, the moment it fucking fell completely through, I was like, okay, you have actually like, not only was it a gut feeling before, but now it's like a confirmed, like, yep, my gut was right.
Dude, it
Is
wasn't
when
Richard Doty in that. And like
I don't know,
Richard
man. I didn't
Doty
even
was like
finish it.
the psyop of all psyops, and now all of a sudden he comes back and is like, well, yeah, sure, I lied about it for years, but now I'm telling the truth.
Yeah, fuck off. No,
Fuck
no. The
you,
thing,
dude.
if you again back to your impression of who's telling the truth, just based on like your gut instinct, is when motherfucker was drawing on a goddamn blackboard on this fucking disclosure whatever, and it's like, and this happens, and like if you have to fucking blackboard explain something down, you can't sit down and have a conversation like Bob Lazar did. Yeah, instantly my fucking bullshit radar goes off and hits 11, because you are like the production of it is kind of like how I articulated it. I was watching actually with my father-in-law that time, and I was like, what the fuck? Like the sensors went off the chart. And then the difference with Bob Lazar is that he's sitting there, he's like, yeah, and he's like, yeah, I can't really remember, or I'm blanking on this or that. Like he seemed like what we're doing right now. Like the conversation was, authentic. The authenticity
You can
aspect
feel
that
it when it's
that
authentic, you
and
know?
Not Lazar, Elizondo just does not have, he has the opposite almost, where it's like
Coached.
he's rehearsing. Yeah, exactly. It's rehearsing. It's like this is a fucking, same speech that he's kind of giving out. It doesn't feel like the ebb and flow of a
Well, I
natural
can't talk about
conversation.
that because that's classified, and I'd have to,
Yeah, no.
my security clearance and blah blah. It's like, fuck you, dude.
Yeah, but there was like, there's just certain things, and it's like, no, this is sorry. The answer is no. The answer is no
Yeah.
on that one.
Yep.
Whereas Lazar, yeah. Now again, to your point, like, do I believe him? Should anybody believe him? Kind of a thing. I think more than anything, it's interesting in that I do genuinely believe that he believes it, that he had experience that he is describing.
Yeah.
Whether or not it's because it was an alien craft that they brought him in to work on, or if it was similar
Psyop.
to like Doty or something, like exactly, like it was false information given to a credible, quote unquote, credible source that people will identify with as an average everyday Joe who is intelligent enough to articulate it to this degree. Yeah, I think again, that's also possible. Would it surprise me if that was the case? No, it wouldn't. And at the same time, I still think the gut instinct of he is telling at least what he is saying and believes that he is
He
saying is
believes
true.
what he's saying.
Yeah, I think I think that checks out. Again, now I welcome the day when it comes out, in the next 5 minutes or whatever, that here's all the proof of why it's bullshit, and I'm like, oh, it's irrefutable. Yeah, you made it all up. I would that surprise me as well? No, it wouldn't. Like, again, to your point, nothing's real, everything's
And
gay, and
and
nothing
to be
surprises me
clear, like
anymore.
I've seen people who have torn apart his background. Like there's a guy named the alien scientist who
Yeah,
thinks that Bob's full of shit, and he's kind of dipped into his background, and like it does seem like there are things about his background that don't add up.
I have seen those, yeah, as well, and I've seen quite a few things. But at the same time, there are equally instances where it doesn't add up in the opposite direction. Where it's like, okay,
Sure.
well, where, why does he have the documentation? Why does he have the paper? Why does he have like engineering, understanding of certain engineering,
A hand scanner.
capability? Hand
He was
scanner,
able to
yeah.
describe a hand scanner that wasn't like, public information at the time, and they didn't find it until like 20 years later.
Yeah, there's a couple things like that where at the same time, if you brought open, busted open my fucking closet, let's say tomorrow I was working at S4 and then I'm like, "Hey, Nick, we got to get on the show. I got to tell you all about it."
Yeah.
And we're having a conversation like we're having now, and it turns out that I was at S4 and it was fucking real. If you busted open my closet, there's going to be a plethora of examples of shit that's going to make my
Yeah.
background look like I'm uncredible, look
Sure.
like
You
because
see, I was a fucking
that's what
drug
an average
addict for years,
there,
Like,
case in point, exactly, and there's going to be plenty to blackmail me with to shut me up. There's going to be plenty to discredit me if I continue to go public or I continue talking. There's going to be plenty, there's plenty of ammunition. I certainly have lived a fucking life now,
mhm.
and anybody who has even a fucking square as he seems to be, that he's just trying to fucking tinker in his garage, and he happened to get drafted or whatever, assigned to this program. um Bob Lazar does seem to be that same character where I'm like, I almost feel like because he has all of these question marks around him, that sounds like a real dude
Yeah.
who got into some real shit,
Yeah.
and now he's trying to just tell you about this one thing,
And like one of the biggest things that kind of lends to him being credible is that he hasn't gotten rich off of this.
Yeah, still, yeah.
He has
He's
every
he
opportunity to get rich off of this, and he
right.
hasn't.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of where his income, quote unquote, comes from his private company, like where he at least claims that this is how much money he's making, this is what he's paying taxes on. And for the amount that I went through, the interviews, the appearances, books, whatever that he could possibly be making money from on the side, I still was absent. Like he's done a handful of interviews. All of them have been,
He could be
the
doing
only
the
one that you
circuit
could
right
say
now. He could be getting
exactly.
paid a ton of money to just go on podcasts all the time, you
The
know?
the one that would have made him the money, Rogan, he admits, not making anything from this.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
just here because it's an interesting It's like, so if you're to the nth degree of like hitting the casual like zeitgeist of the conversation, as it relates to Rogan with hundreds of millions of listens, then and you're not making any money from that or have no plan or objective, like he didn't sit there dropping like, "Hey, I have this project that I'm doing, and if
Yeah.
everybody can donate to my GoFundMe." No,
Here's
it
my
was more
book.
like, yeah, it was more like, "Hey, I'm actually in this documentary, and the only reason I'm here is because he made this documentary, so I'm supporting him," kind of a
Yeah.
thing. Even though Rogan just talked to fucking Lazar the entire time and like grilled him, the it was all because this documentary is coming out, and Rogan's all into that kind of shit. So it's like, if that wasn't the time to capitalize after already being on there and seeing the fucking response that people have to it, if that's not any indication of like maybe just misguided ignorance that I've
Mhm.
never seen possible before, you're not gonna sway me that this is like one of those stunts for
Mhm.
that exact reason. Because who does and who has is that fucking lights in the sky dude, fire in the sky. I'm blanking on his name right now. The dude who was the logger got fucking
Yeah,
abducted.
I know who you're talking about.
Walton, Travis Walton.
Travis Walton.
Fucking Travis Walton sells
I
bobbleheads and
I thought he
books
was
and
full of
movie
shit.
rights, and
Yeah.
exactly. I thought he was full of shit then. A couple buddies who met him were like, he's full of shit. I was like, yeah, I believe that. That checks out. I mean, the movie was cool, but the story bullshit.
Yeah. I
All of
thought he
it
was
was
full of
just like
shit
one of those,
for sure.
one of
Most
and
of the
guess who's never.
stories I think are bullshit.
That's what is it? Healthy skepticism, right?
Yeah.
That's a good thing to have
I
because
want them to be true, but I think a lot
it
of
would
them
be
are
cool.
bullshit. I
Yeah,
think
it would be
Betty and
cool.
Barney Hill is a compelling story. I think Bob Lazar is a compelling story. Even like the guy we were talking about, Chris Bledsoe,
Yeah.
I'm not convinced of his story. You know,
Sorry, Chris.
I'm just not. Like, it was a cool story, and I think he believes what he's saying, but I'm not convinced that it's something crazy, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there was
Yeah.
aspects of his book that I found to be not quite believable, but I don't know, you know?
Well, I'll check it out if nothing else. I do love the idea of fucking you've seen the movie Species, I
Oh,
assume,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
I love the idea of fucking, hot space
Oh,
aliens
yeah.
coming down to hire. Like,
Absolutely.
who doesn't? Who doesn't? And
Absolutely.
I
So,
always think of the Clerks 2 quote by Jason Mewes. Where he's like something about like he's gonna fuck the
yeah.
Martian, and he'll walk down the street, and everybody's like, "Hey, that was homeboy. Fuck the Martian once." That's He's like, how
Yeah.
cool would that be to be
That's
that
so
guy that got
funny.
down with the Martian? Because yeah, if it's out there, sign me up. I always joke with the wife about that. She
Yeah.
never finds it too funny, but I'm telling you, if there's Megan Fox aliens out
Oh,
there,
yeah, absolutely. I'm
you gotta
in.
give me a pass on
I'm
this one,
in.
babe.
So
You
while we're
gotta
on
give
the
me a pass.
subject and we're getting into the twilight here, do we have a review on Science and Futurism with Isaac Arthur yet?
I don't know. I'm finishing
Oh,
Hail Mary right now. I
okay,
have
okay.
I have all of the ones you
You
keep
got it
giving
on the
me.
nice, nice.
Well, I also have it in my. This is like where I always write everything when we're doing the podcast.
Yeah, I have
I have it
notes in
already
front of me
saved in
too.
the. Yeah, how can you not?
Yeah.
No,
It's
I have it
easier to put
saved
it
in
on
the wish
paper
list.
than into the iPad, you know.
It's fast. My hand goes just like I can hear you and listen
Yeah.
and continue talking, and my hand can just like write down the things that are important that I don't
I
have to
have to
worry
look
about.
at what I'm typing. I can't like
Yeah. Well,
keep
and then
paying
I don't want
attention
clickety
and type
clack.
where with the pencil and paper.
Yeah.
I can pay attention and write down, you know, title
Likewise.
ideas and notes for
Likewise.
later. And like this paper's got to go. I've got way too much shit on here, but I've written down old podcast titles, like, because once, like I said, I got brain damage. So once I'm done with the podcast, I completely forget what we talked
I'm with
about
you.
for the most part, especially with other people. It's like I have no idea. I'll go in to start editing them and be like, who is this guy? And like, what were they talking about? Like, and then I'll have to listen to it for a little bit and go, okay, here's a title, you know,
Yeah,
but
I'm
most
with you on
part.
that one for sure. The the review that I do have for you though was the first album. I kind of like emailed you the Warren Zevon
Yeah.
first album. It's not Anxious Boy. I'm blanking on it.
Excitable boy.
Excitable. Thank you. Like I was emailing you about. I can see
I didn't see
why.
your email on that. I'll have to look.
Oh yeah, well, we email a lot now,
Yeah.
back and forth.
Yeah.
It was something because I was like, yeah, when we sit down and talk, officially, I'll give you the full review. But like, I can see why Werewolves in London was like the catchy tune that made
Yeah.
it to the radio. Like you see a lot of artists. Like I don't know about you, but like if somebody like if I hear a song from somebody, I'm like, that's good, or because I'm not listening to the radio anymore. I don't know who is, but
I do.
I'll hear something
My
like
car
recommended.
doesn't have a connector for my phone, so I listen to the radio.
So you okay? Speaking to the wrong guy here,
Mhm.
but like
And
you'll
it's
hear
too
one
hard
thing.
for the radio, so I kind of have to.
Beautiful. Yeah, you kind of have to. Yeah, fair enough. I'll hear a song. I'm like, okay, let me check out the rest that this artist has. I love it when it's like this is their first single. I'm like, oh fuck yeah, let's keep going, keep going. I can't wait for the album to drop. I felt that vibe with Warren in that obviously he's not a new artist. He has a bunch of work that you can go through.
Yeah.
And I started to. That first album was perfect to introduce you, where it's like,
Yeah.
oh, you had that
It's so
fucking
good.
radio hit. And I can see why, like it's that
Yeah.
repetitive, catchy. It's got the core, like it makes sense.
Yeah.
But as you're listening from start to finish through the album, you get a completely different sense of the
Yep.
dude than you would from that fucking.
It's not
like
the best song on that album. It's
It's
the
the
most
yeah.
catchy. It's the most suitable for the radio. But like for me, like Lawyers, Guns, and Money is definitely the best
It
song
was
on that album.
in terms of lyrics for sure. And I thought like the rest of the album, it not even almost, it didn't sound and didn't seem like the same guy.
No, it's
like
taking you on a roller coaster up and
yeah.
down. Like some of it'll be fast paced and funny. Some of it is far more serious and like lovey dovey. It's
Yeah, and some
it's
of
a
them are
good
quick.
album.
Yeah, some of them are quick, and he just got the fucking chord together. It was right before the like repeat or redux of the Werewolves in London at the very end of the album, and it's just like a 20-second like riff, like a chord. He's got a
I
name
need
for it
a
and everything.
truck
Yeah, that's
to
what it
haul
was. I
my
need
trucks
like,
in.
it started so like casually and so I was like, this is good. Like this
Yeah.
is a perfect like build up. And then all of a sudden it's done. I was like, wait, that can't be the song. And
Yeah.
then I go back, I'm like, oh
That was
fuck, he
it.
just knew what the fuck he had. And
Yep.
he just did it. And he's like, that's it. So it was definitely more artistic, it was definitely more creative for sure. And if you took any of the other songs on that album and stuck it next to Werewolves, you wouldn't know that it's the same
Yeah.
fucking, at least I didn't know.
It's
Like they
completely
just
different.
sound completely,
But
they
like
feel completely different.
once you get into his entire catalog, Werewolves of London makes sense
Makes
because
more sense.
it's
Yeah.
funny, it's campy, it's like it's him for sure.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just different. And like I think I sent you links to a couple of my other favorite songs of his too
Yeah, like
that are
Prison Grove, I think was on
Prison
there.
Grove, Splendid Isolation, Country
Poor
Song.
Pitiful Me.
Poor,
Yeah,
Pitiful
yeah.
Me. Yeah, people think that song was written by Bonnie Raitt, but it was actually him, and she covered it. So I think it was
Damn.
Bonnie Raitt. Yeah, I don't
Again,
remember,
he's
but very
super talented. You
talented.
could tell.
Yeah,
You
very
could tell.
talented. Just a different guy, you know.
That's the eclectic would definitely
Yeah,
be like into that same category where, again, like from the
deserves to
fucking
be more popular than he was. Like very
100%.
like just a really good solid artist.
I agree. I could not agree more. And again, without I admitted it when you brought him up. I was like, yeah, that's definitely one of like the, failures in my, musical, knowledge, catalog, whatever. Not that it's fucking that deep or that anything, but it's like, yeah, he's a blind spot of
Yeah,
mine. And yeah, had you not shown me, I would have had that blind spot. But what a fucking guy he is. And now,
yeah.
like I said, he's got what, like 4 or 5 that I'm working through right
Oh,
now.
there's a lot of
And
albums.
and
There's a lot. He made a
he's
lot of music.
yeah,
He's very good.
he's
Like,
fantastic. He's
yeah, I'm
fantastic.
glad you liked him. I'm glad you liked him
I
because
really did. I
I,
really did. I
I,
wanted to give you
I,
the
I
honest
like,
review.
I think he's so good. And when people haven't heard of him, I'm like, oh, good. I get to like introduce you to some cool music that you've never heard of before. And
And
some people like him, some people don't. But for the most part, whenever I introduce him to
nah,
people, they're like, oh shit, like this guy was really good.
to your point, like slept on, and like I was
Yep.
one of those people completely blind spot slept on, wouldn't have known. But introducing to somebody is like that is definitely the way to go because and I also recommend people like hit that repeat, like go through the album and hit the album repeat
Yeah,
because
listen to it a
listening
couple
to
times because
yeah
once you listen to it a few times, you're like, man, it just gets better and better until you finally like really get a feel for where he was coming from on the
you
album.
pick the
Like
pieces up,
there
yeah,
was
for
like
sure.
the first couple times I listened to the album, there was a couple songs where I was like, eh, you know, but like
hmm
after listening to it a couple times, it's like, man, all these songs are really fucking good.
Yeah, and they connect. I mean, it's
Yep.
just if you pay attention to pick up the pieces on like how he's going through it, and I
Yep.
I love looking up lyrics when I hear a song. I'm like,
Yeah, me
wait a
too.
minute, what was it? What exactly was he talking about? And then I
That
look
was
up the
one of the
lyrics. I'm
cool
like,
things about buying CDs is you could open up the jacket
yeah,
and get the lyrics to them, you know?
God, talk about it, man. I miss those days. I
Yeah.
did that with Eminem. Like I think the last album I had that I opened up the jacket and I was flipping. Oh well, I did it with Kid Cudi as well, but like I think the last one was like the Eminem. I got like all 6 or 7 or whatever albums at the time. He hadn't even released his last 2 or 3 or
Oh,
whatever
well,
because this was
if you're a rap and hip hop fan, I've got another great recommendation for you. So my podcast is called Too Hard for the Radio, and that is a song by a local Bay Area artist from where I grew up named Mac Dre, and
yes, I
he is
yes.
one of the best rappers of all time. Killed early, spent a bunch of time in prison when he was younger, got out of prison, made his best music, and he is just incredible. He probably has 15 albums or something like that, and every one of them you can play all the way through. The dude was just incredible.
No, I completely agree. Speaking of the brain damage, that was the first recommendation you ever
Oh,
gave me when I
really?
was
Okay,
asking you
cool.
about, yeah, because I was like, where did the name come from? How
Yeah.
did, like where,
Hmm.
and you had told me that it was pulled from one of his songs.
Yeah, his
And you,
most famous song, which is not it's not his best song, it's his most famous song. It was early, but yeah, he was so
he
he's your
absolutely is.
favorite rapper's favorite rapper.
And there's yeah, I agree. Again, when Dr. Diablo had asked, shout out to our one of our patrons, when he had asked like how'd you meet Nick, and I was like I had to think like
Yeah.
shit, it's been years.
Yeah, it's been
We
a
actually
couple
kind of
years
go
now.
back a little
Yeah.
ways, and I was like, what the first things we were talking about was this, and it was like, and I was like, damn, yeah, this is I've known you for a little while now, so
Yeah,
yeah, that was
been a couple
actually one of
years.
the very first ones that you
It's
gave me.
crazy that like I've been doing this podcast for 3 years now, over 3 years, and it just feels like it went quick. Like I had a guy named Eric Jackman on last week, and he was my first interview. It was on like episode 7 or something like that. It's like,
Yeah.
man, like I remember doing that like it was yesterday. I don't remember most of the podcasts in between there, but I remember that one because it was my first interview, you know?
Yeah, jogs the memory of
Yeah.
well, it's just like losing your virginity, right? Everybody remembers their
Oh
first
yeah.
time, as they say, right?
On the
Whatever it
cruise
is.
ship I was talking about earlier today.
Hitting golf balls off. Well, now it all makes sense why you were acting a fool out there. You were living on cloud 9 for
I
the
think
entire
I don't
cruise.
remember which happened first, but yeah, it was all a blur. It was all a drunken blur.
Fuck yeah, I'll drink to that, man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Before we
we're
get
hitting
out
the
of here,
twilight. Yeah, yeah.
I've got required reading
Give it
this
to me.
week. We've got We Are Legion, We Are Bob. It's from a series called the Bobiverse. It's one of the highest rated books on Audible. It's got like 100,000 5-star reviews or something like that. Just a great book. It's about a guy who has his brain frozen after he gets in a car crash, and then
Mm.
like some authoritarian government wakes him up to be a garbage truck like years down the line. And
Shit.
the scientist that like wakes him up decides like, hey, I'm not going to turn this guy into a garbage truck. He's kind of like a dissident. So he turns him into a von Neumann probe. And so he kind of just goes out into the universe and creates different versions of himself and studies different alien planets, ends up having to save Earth at one point. It's like a 5-book series, and they're still going. Really, really good.
Fuck yeah, dude. That's it made me think of what's that like board game 40 Warhammer
40K.
40K.
Yeah.
It made me think of that because it made me have the worst existential dread of the idea of being conscious but stuck in
Yeah.
a fucking garbage truck. Holy fuck.
Yeah.
That's like dark but like humorous in the same way. So I'm glad they leaned in
Yeah.
more of the humor part
It's
of it.
very humorous. It's a very humorous book. I
Fuck.
think it's the same narrator that does Project Hail Mary.
Oh
So
really?
Ray
He's
Porter,
he's good.
yeah, Ray
Hell yeah.
Porter's the man. He's
Hell
one of my
yeah.
favorites. It's very funny book. Yeah,
Hell
it's
yeah.
just a fun read. You know, it's nothing too deep. There, it's always interesting. He's creating new versions of himself, and they name themselves, and it's a fun read. I won't give too much away on it because
Fuck yeah.
it's such a fun read to go through.
See,
It's
my wife gets sticker, like that's her thing. She loves fucking stickers. She got one the other day that I snagged, and it was I buy books like I'm immortal. And it's just like a skeleton like with a
Yeah.
giant stack, because
Yeah.
you give me more recommendations that I continue to like chip
Yeah.
away at, and it's like I would, it's like one of those. I wish I had more time. It's like
Yeah.
I want to listen to all of them right now, kind
Yeah.
of a thing, and I want to
Just
read all of
download
them
them
right now.
straight into your brain.
Yeah, right. Like the
We're
little
not far off, right?
what's like the little Asian kid where he's like scooping it into his brain. He like
Yeah.
turns the page. He's like,
Yeah.
that's what I wish was a thing. I have a recommendation for you actually that
Okay.
someone gave to me a little while, like more than a little while ago, a year plus ago. And as I over the weekend, I built some shelves so I could stick. So like up here, you can't really see, but there's a bunch of shelves in here already. And they were just supposed to be where I would display, like Lego heads and busts and stuff.
Sure.
So that's what a lot is up there. But as time went on, for the show, you like more and more books started to get accumulated. And here I was like, oh, I'm definitely going to put my books at this top level so I can, when I'm like blanking on the name or I'm blanking on
Sure.
like the author or
idea.
whatever, I just look up and he's right there while I'm recording my podcast. It got to the point now where the shelves, they're just like an L bracket onto the wall.
Mhm.
So, and I thought was enough to support all the shelves. Well, this one the other day, after I added the entire series of the Red Rising, I noticed as I'm putting it up there
I've got
that
that on my queue.
it's a good one. Definitely part of my recommendations. But I noticed that this back wall shelf where you see all the picture frames and the shelf that the Red Rising was at are like that. Like it's leaning on
Uh-huh.
the shelf on the back wall
Starting
because
to
of how many
sag.
books and how much weight I have on it. And then I was like, wait a minute, what's like? And I started looking at all the shelves, and this shelf directly in front of me behind the computer that you can't see is matching the other one. And that's why I didn't notice it right away because of how much fucking weight was on there. I was like, oh fuck. So I can't add any more books. I definitely have to move it. So decided I was going to build some down, downstairs where the TV was at. Made sure they're sturdy as a
Yeah.
motherfucker, and make sure they can hold the goddamn weights. And I have a lot of room. And when I was cleaning out, a lot of these books and moving them from different rooms, I found one that's all about. I assume you've seen the movie Tombstone, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so it's all about Tombstone. It's called Brothers of the Gun, not
Ooh.
Brothers Gun. And it's all about Wyatt Earp and Doc Holliday and the town of Tombstone. It's by Mark Lee Garner. So it's nonfiction. It's biography, it's biography, but the way he writes it and just the craziness of the Wild West because one of the books that was right next to it was the Not So Wild West that you
Yeah.
had given me as a
Yeah.
recommendation, and I was looking at the two together, and I was just like, the idea that these were simultaneously happening at the same, in the same area, even was just like
I was thinking
it's
about that book
beautiful.
when you were talking about it. I was like, I wonder if I've recommended that book yet.
Yeah. Recommended, bought it. I put it. I got the hardcover. I always try to get the hardcover when I
Yeah,
can.
me too.
It'll always last longer that way, and
And for some
I move
reason,
a
a lot of
lot.
times they're cheaper,
I've
which doesn't
been
make any sense to me. But
well, I'd say it's what is it like 75% of the time they're not, but if it's even remotely close, like the other day, like Marxism by fucking Sewell,
mhm.
it was like what did it say? It was like $45 for the paperback. I was like, oh well, I wonder what the hardcover is, and it was
47.
like $384
Oh,
for
wow.
the hardcover. I
Yeah.
was like, I
That's
am
a
getting
rare
the
book
paperback.
then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm getting
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
paperback on
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
one.
We'll get the
It's-
reprint.
but like the other one, I think it was I'm blanking on it now. But it was like the paperback is like 14 whatever, and the hardcover was like 9. I was like, why the fuck would I not get the 9? Like
Yeah.
that's
It doesn't make any
and the
sense to
hardcover,
me.
that's a win-win in
That
my
was
in
what
my
was
book.
up with the bottom a while back, and I remember that the hardcover was cheaper, and like it's a cool book too. It's got like a blue spine with it that says Bob all the way through it,
I love it.
and then the same with the other versions of it. They're different colors, and the outer pages are, and if you're gonna buy a display book, you might as well buy a cool looking display book, right?
Well, I mean, again, it's just a win. You can't go wrong with that in my
Yeah.
book. So I recommend that one if you really like crazy Western stories about just, how you could get away with things back then. And then at the same time, how justice looked when you weren't getting away with things back
Yeah.
then, like who you hired and how you hired. It's just a fun. If you like the movie, my wife despises the movie because she's seen it so many. Like I've watched it so many
Great
times. She's like,
movie.
"Oh, this again," kind of a thing.
Val Kilmer's best movie.
Val Kilmer's. I wouldn't do. It's definitely one of the most memorable characters of his.
Another movie that he did that was really good. I don't remember what it's called right now. But it was about like he was a porn star and there was a bunch of fucking murders surrounding him.
It's ringing a bell. It's ringing a
I could
bell.
look it up
That's
real
not the
quick.
one with. That's not the one with RDJ.
No,
That's where they're like detectives or just private eyes or whatever.
I can look it up real quick.
Oh, it's ringing a. It's not Glass Bottle. That's with
No.
Owen Wilson. It's almost at the tip of my tongue too.
Me too.
Oh man, that one. I don't know. Doc Holliday is a lovable
He's
character.
great.
He's just
Great
a
character.
rascal,
Yeah.
like he's getting drunk.
Wonderland.
I'm like, yes,
It's called Wonderland.
Wonderland. Yes.
Good movie. Good movie. I've watched that one a couple
I've
times.
only seen it once. I
Yeah.
think it was like on one of those like late night IFC, like Spike TV or whatever it was, movies. So it was like 11 or 12 at night. God, it's been years. That's actually, you know what? Movie recommendation,
Yeah.
book recommendation for
Wonderland.
everybody.
It's a good movie.
Wonderland is a good one.
I haven't
Val
watched it in
Kilmer.
years, so I might watch it now and go, it's okay. But
Actually,
I remember when I watched it, I liked it.
It's like Battlefield Earth, It's
Yeah.
like you watch it as a kid, you're
so
just like,
horrible.
I don't really, what, and then you watch it now, it's like, this is fucking hilarious. This is fantastic.
Yeah.
In every of worst possible way
Yeah.
that you can imagine. It's more enjoyable now.
I
that
like
you
a good
know how
I like a
shitty it
good
is.
terrible B movie from time to
God.
time.
Bro,
There's some great B movies out there.
that's a C movie. D
Yeah,
movie.
yeah,
That's
for
a
sure. It's awful.
John Travolta
It's
and
awful.
his
Oh my God.
Shakespearean alien.
Yeah.
Oh man, can you imagine if that's what we have to look forward to with fucking Space Daddy coming down is John Travolta and Shakespearean fucking like predator tentacles out of his
Yeah.
head? That will be the fucking day, man.
All right. Well, I
But-
think on that one we should probably fucking cheers and get out of here.
I agree, man. So cheers, pro, Solange, salute. Everybody, we always remember, don't kill the messenger.
All right. Good night.